First time in quite a while. Well, not that too long, big of a while, but still special guest. Been trying to get him on. Geoffrey Sword.
Hey, what's up?
Yep. And well, first of all, well, what's up? Well, for one, Green Lantern is what's up, and Blood Syndicate is what's up.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Yep. And what more recently, Motor City Comic Con for me. That has been a big thing, and just met your co and one of the co-artists, Marco Santucci.
Marco, he's
Yeah.
actually there.
Yep. He's actually
I
there.
love that guy.
Yep.
He's awesome. I
Yep.
love Marco. Marco, he was a gift from DC. I never met him, and I didn't know his work before we got
hmm
together on Green Lantern.
Yeah,
And that guy is just a beast, man. He is
he
just
is.
ridiculous.
And he stuck around all 12 issues. Even though you had another artist alongside him, he stuck around the whole
Yep.
time.
Yeah. Marco is he is an artist.
Yep.
He's everything you want to be. He's everything you
hmm
want an artist to be.
Oh, yeah.
And I love his sort of semi-realistic style. I
hmm
like that. So I'm down for Marco wherever he goes. I follow.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. And he's a workhorse. He is a
Oh
workhorse.
my god, he is a monster, and he's fast. That's what's crazy. Like you don't
I like that.
even understand the level of detail in his roughs is ridiculous. And then when
Mhm.
you ask for changes, both him and Tom did changes fast, but when you're looking at the level of detail in the artwork and then how quickly the changes get turned around, you're like, holy shit. And he works old school with
Exactly.
ink on paper. No, he
Exactly.
only works old school, man. Like, he's a beast. He's a beast.
Yep, definitely. And it's just, and from every, it's like you don't. I'm starting to see a good resurgence of that old school type of artwork. I mean, you have him, you
Hmm.
have I just forget her first name, but Martins, I think she's the one who's been doing the Nubia
Okay.
comic.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
yeah, her.
she works
Yeah,
on actual pen, actual paper. God
I
forbid.
yep. But when you look at that, it's that type of Perez era. I mean, God bless,
Yeah, man.
rest in peace, man.
Absolutely.
Oh
Rest
boy,
in peace.
that hit
Rest in
me like a
power.
freight
That's
train.
my man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I looked at what I think. Well, we knew with Perez, he knew,
Oh
so
yeah.
it was good in a way because everybody got to get out in front and everyone got to say what they had to say for him to see. And I hope that his ending was peaceful
It
because
was. From what I
he
heard, it was.
deserved that.
Yeah.
But very few of us get to have, like,
Oof.
let's put it like this: Jim Henson didn't get to go to Jim Henson's funeral. We
Nope.
all saw it, but if he had been on, like, if it would have been his last day and the funeral happened that day, I think he
hmm
would have gone out happier. You know what
I
I
think
mean?
so. I think so.
And
Yeah.
the same with George. I think he had several weeks of people just saying, "Yo, this is
hmm
what," people he never met, people, old colleagues that hadn't talked to him in a minute, like basically everybody saying, "This is what." Not just, "Oh, you're so good," but this is the impact you had on my life. You
Exactly.
know?
Oh, that was what was for me because when I first heard about it a month ago, there's a video still on here. I broke down crying, and I cried for most of
Aw,
the day. That's how
aw.
much it devastated me. And now, when Dwayne McDuffie passed away, I met him a year prior, and that still made me feel so depressed. But George, I was crying on and off for the day because one of my first comics was Christ on Infinite Earth. Yeah, I dove into the
Oh,
deep end there.
Jesus.
I dove in,
Jesus Christ.
but there's a reason why I love the multiverse so much is because it was one of from my first books. The reason why Doctor Light's one of my favorite comic characters because she was introduced in that
You
story.
know what? They don't do enough with that character. I vow
She's in Dark Crisis.
if I ever get to do Global Guardians, she's going to be on the freaking Global Guardians.
Oh, nice. You know, eventually with Global Guardians, I think back to the Great Ten and how much they kind of took over from the Global Guardians. It's like
Yeah.
interesting characters,
The,
but the Global Guardians, yeah.
Here's your problem, though, with the Great Ten, and nothing against, obviously, Chinese Americans or
More of
actually
them are
Chinese
coming up with
nationals.
them either.
But the the Great Ten are a Chinese government operation,
hmm
so you can't really be pro China,
Yeah.
and they're supposed to be superheroes. So unless the book is about them bucking their own system, I don't know what you get out of the Great Ten. I think it's better to go for a UN team and
Exactly.
have some Chinese nationals be on that team.
Yes.
But you know,
I think that was one of the good things I liked about the the new Superman that Jean Louis Yang had done, where it
hmm
still bucked the trends a little bit, not too
yeah,
hard, but it was enough that he would. Yeah, part of the reason what was going on was I think his mother or whatever was trying to do a team that could actually counteract the Great Ten
right. There
with a
you
bunch
go.
of Justice League knockoffs.
Yeah, I mean, people forget like the Winter Guard. That was
Oh
the
yes.
original version of the Winter Guard was created during the time of the Soviet Union, so they
Mm-hmm.
weren't really the good guys,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like not from an American perspective, and it
Definitely
was
not.
fun to play with them. But the idea that you're going to float some of these characters just for, I hate to say it, but just for diversity's sake,
Mm-hmm.
you still have to take into account how this stuff plays in the real world. And
Oh
I
yeah.
like the idea of the Great Ten. I think it'd be wonderful,
Mm-hmm.
but modern day China ain't nobody superheroes. So it's like, come
And
on, fellas.
I gotta say, if it was some of them, it seems like the Iron General is one of those standout ones, and Mother
Yeah,
Champion is always the weirdest one. Just like
that was crazy.
gives birth to around 8 kids, but she never looks like she's having 8 or whatever. It's just
I
like,
know, and like, what the hell? She's giving birth to these adults.
and
What is happening?
apparently she's always having sex with her other teammates because their powers pass on. At least that's what the
Ew,
series has stated.
ew, hard
Yeah.
no. Ew,
Well, and they
ew.
die within a few either few days or few weeks, so she has to be cold and emotionless about it.
No, no, none of
Yeah.
that appeals to Jeff. I'm
Oh,
out.
yeah.
I'm out.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. That's one of those
Yeah,
things where you're like, Grand, you came up with a hero that's literally a baby machine.
yeah, and and again, the thing with writing, especially this kind of fiction, you got to
Mhm.
swing for the fences. So
Yes,
you have to go big, and then people will tell you, "Oh, that was way too big of a swing." But if you go small, then it's just boring. So
exactly.
I don't knock anyone's creativity for
Oh,
trying it,
definitely
but
not.
I'm like, yeah, no, we need to rework this concept, please.
hmm It's
Um,
like what you did when you took over with Joe Mullion or Teen Lantern on your let's get your Green Lantern book when you took over
uh,
them. And right before I remember you saying you were not a fan of Williamson just stating she was the greatest detective in Future State. It's like, why are you saying that? That felt like that was someone the editorial told him to tack on. It felt like.
well, I never liked that. I think, frankly, Josh is a way better writer than that. I say
hmm
Josh like we're old friends. You know him,
No, I
but
understand.
I actually quite like his work on the whole.
Same.
But I don't like when you're telling the audience that Joe
Mhm.
is the greatest detective in the multiverse, or Hal's the greatest Green Lantern that ever lived, or
Exactly.
whatever. I think what should happen is, frankly, what you want to do is team her up with Batman on a mission and have
Exactly.
both of them be like, "Holy crap, you're really good."
Exactly.
Yeah, you're good. You're awesome too.
Yep.
Or you come to a planet. They did this great thing years ago in The Martian Manhunter,
hmm
when he had his own solo, where they'd never established this in DC until the book, but they went somewhere like South America, or the Philippines, or someplace in the Southern Hemisphere, and Martian Manhunter was Superman. Like
Yep.
everybody else was like, "Oh yeah, that's Superman." Oh my God, the Martian Manhunter's here,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Because
well, yes,
he
it's
was
like
handling,
sorry.
you know, well, he that character, according to this book anyway, like Superman can't be everywhere all the time,
hmm
so Martian Manhunter was handling things in the southern hemisphere. So from their point of view, he was Superman, and I was like,
Exactly.
"That works for me. That works for me."
It's like when you go. It's like that reminds me for a real world comparison when a bunch of the Disney voice actors had gone to Japan, and you had April Winchell saying, "Oh, like they meet all the others, they're like, oh yes, yes," but when she says, "Oh, I'm the voice of Clarabelle," they're like, "Go Clarabelle, Clarabelle!" It's like,
Oh dear
oh
God! Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. They're just like,
So
"Whoa, I did not know Clarabelle was this huge here."
that's I know, and I think actors sometimes freak out like that's, and in a lovely way, especially for voice actors. Like I don't think they get especially the ones that aren't already movie stars. They never get the props they deserve. So when
Definitely.
you go somewhere and somebody's brain falls out, like you're like, holy crap! Like I remember,
Yeah.
I met Gray Griffin,
Yep.
and
I've
she's
met her.
like a gigantic voiceover actor, and
Hmm.
her name stands out because it sounds like a superhero name,
It
but
does.
she was the voice of Azula in the Avatar show.
Hmm.
So when I met her, all I could do was Azula, Azula, and she was like, "Are you an adult? What's wrong with you?"
That's what I love about these voice actors, though. They're so used to anyone of all ages, not just little kids. Like D. Bradley
Yeah,
Baker. He did not know so many people were so huge fans of Omak until from Legend of the Hidden Temple until he went
there
to a
you go.
convention where people were like, "Shrine of the Silver Monkey."
Yeah, man. I mean, and like as a person who sometimes makes animation, it
Hmm.
bugs me when they constantly stunt cast
Yeah.
these movie stars. Nothing against the movie stars, but they don't need the money.
Yeah.
And no 12-year-old ever went to a movie because Angelina Jolie was the voice of Tigress. That was not a
Exactly.
selling point.
Now there are some people. Now there are some big name actors who have a natural voice, like John Goodman. You guys could put him at any role with his
Oh,
with
sure,
a mic,
sure.
or Jack Black. But yeah, Harrison
Or
Ford. Good God, the guy is. It's a
Keith
guy.
David.
Yep. I was saying Harrison Ford. Has the guy never sounded bored doing a role? It's like really. I mean, again, some actors you could tell they're in this. Others they're doing this for a paycheck.
Yeah, I just feel like there's a thing in Hollywood which has gone away to some degree,
Hmm.
but not enough for me, which is those guys are not considered they're not considered on the same tier, and I think that's horseshit. Right? I
Agreed.
work with those people. I found them to be, if not as gifted, in many cases more.
Hmm.
And like I am a huge fan of. If I'm ever running a show, it's going to be if unless the studio makes me, it's going to be all professional voice actors. I will not be doing any
Yes.
subs.
I mean, let's
Um,
look at Idris Elba's Knuckles. So again, perfect, surprisingly good casting, and apparently he was a fan of the character. So I think
right, and that's
that worked.
fine. That's fine. I'm just saying as a rule,
Oh no, I
like
agree. No, I agree with you.
yeah,
I say get him, have him audition like any other voice actor would.
God
Don't be
forbid.
going, yeah,
God forbid. Yes, he
yeah,
did do the Blood Syndicate. I'm the Blood Syndicate guy.
yep, yep. We'll be getting to that. We will be getting the Blood Syndicate. Don't you worry.
Okay.
But But yeah, like I said, with Joe and Teen Lantern, I mean, I think you did a good job. I mean, with Teen Lantern, people, it still bugs me that everyone
Oh
took
my
what she
God.
claimed that, oh, I hacked the lantern. And it's like, did you actually read the book? She was being
No, they didn't.
hyperbolic. Yeah,
No, they didn't.
she
No,
was being
they didn't.
hyperbolic to try and
Well,
impress
this is
the lantern,
yeah. She was
young
trying to be impressive to the other teenagers. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. She's a liar, which is the first thing
yeah,
I said when anyone asked me. She's a freaking liar. But
she's a tween. She's
that's
a
how I
tween.
can tell who read the book. That's how I can tell. That's one of the ways I can tell who read the actual book, because when they say stuff like that, I'm like, you didn't read it.
Exactly.
You didn't
They
read it.
didn't. They did not read it because if you actually read her origin story, you would have then seen, oh, alien
Oh,
died.
whoa. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a dark freaking origin. Holy crap.
yeah. Again, I
Okay.
give Bendis props for that, but at the same time, no, he does. Sometimes he takes a little too long to get to the origin point. So you're kind of making people stew into taking their word for it, and then you find out the truth, and then by that point, damage already done.
Yeah, it's weird. I think that there's a lack of trust in the fan. And how do I say this properly?
Hmm.
There's enough people with microphones in our fandom
Hmm.
that are negative a lot, and there's no
Yeah.
trust with that group of people. So I'm old enough where like I don't have any problems with Bendis. I liked
Hmm.
him. I understood why the big two picked him up. I was a big fan of Powers, a big fan of Goldfish. I mean I didn't track him like, oh, I need to track this guy. It's like he was writing really good stuff.
Yes.
But but there's a generation of people that is kind of like, I don't trust you. So if you're going to hide something, I don't trust that it's going to pay off in a way that I like. So let me get right to the
Yes.
point. I don't want to wait. I don't trust you, man. Just tell me. And he
Exactly.
doesn't write like that. He just doesn't
It
write
is
like that.
not.
So
Now, doesn't mean I like all of his ideas. I'll be honest. If I could be brutally honest, and I don't know how much of it was all him, but Riri felt like one of those first times I saw a Mantle character who was done without a
Dude.
story reason behind it. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It felt like there was no story behind it.
All
He
right,
just
let me pitch you something. Let me pitch you something because
all
you're
right.
probably never going to get to do this.
Go right ahead.
This is what I would have. This is what I would have done with Riri.
Hmm.
I would have not called her that. I would have taken. There's an old New Universe series called Spitfire and the Troubleshooters. And
Yes.
what I would have done is I would have had this kid who hero worshipped, a super genius kid, because Marvel's chock full of those.
Oh,
Okay.
Moon Girl.
A super genius kid hero worships Tony Stark from afar. And
Hmm.
she decides, that's what I want to do. I want to be an inventor like that. Right.
Hmm.
And for years, nobody knew Tony Stark was Iron Man.
Hmm.
Right. So all this time she's here worshiping Tony Stark. I'm going to be an engineer. I'm going to be an inventor. And at some point he comes out of the closet. Yes, I'm also Iron Man. And her mind is blown. She's like,
Whoa.
what? Right? Oh, I'm about to make me a super suit.
Yes.
Right? And then so she names herself, and it would make more sense from her personality and the kind of stuff a kid would put into such a suit. She's Spitfire,
Yes.
right? But she doesn't have a name yet. This is
Right.
how you do legacy from my point of view. She's just this girl in armor. She might even be calling herself something dumb like Iron Girl, right?
Yeah.
Something stupid, right?
Iron Man.
But but now here's where we get crazy with the DC legacy. I mean, with the Marvel legacy stuff.
Right.
But what would happen is, I forget her first name, but in the Invaders, in Captain America's Invader series in
Hmm.
World War II, there was a character called Spitfire. And
Hmm.
she got super speed because they gave her a blood transfusion from the original android Human Torch. And she
Yes.
comes out of it with super speed. And she
Hmm.
calls herself Spitfire, which we're kind of playing in World War II. But she's crazy rich. And the blood is age retardant, sort of like the soldier serum. So
Right.
this
Right.
woman, who's like now almost 100 years old, or maybe over 100 years old, she looks like she's about 70. So
Hmm.
that's pretty good for 100, right? She looks 30
Yep.
years younger than she should. She can't really be a super anymore, but she has all of this money, right?
Hmm.
And she sees this teenager running around trying to solve problems in a super suit. And
Hmm.
so she just shows up one day, and this girl's like, and Riri's like, how do you know who I am? How do you know what I'm doing? And she's like, honey, I was here before S.H.I.E.L.D. and I got all the money in the world. Plus, I can do this zip, 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 right?
Yep.
I'm the Flash. But I can't do it on a regular basis because let's face it, I'm 70. So here's what I'd
Yeah.
like you to do I'd like you to join my organization, Troubleshooters, and you take on my old mantle,
Hmm.
right? So your new name is Spitfire, not Iron Girl. That's dumb. That's out. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
You're going to be Spitfire, and I'm going to help you learn to be a hero, and I'm going to bankroll you,
Hmm.
right? So now she's got a mentor legacy. Um, she's got a legacy mentor. She's got a
Hmm.
real reason to be there. She's got an organization behind her. And she's got someone to push up against as a teenager to go, no, old lady, I'm not doing it like that. Right. And you
Yes.
just re release the title Spitfire and the Troubleshooters, and you get everything you got with Re Ray and none of the Iron Man controversy.
Exactly. You pick a lower tier character, someone that most people don't even remember. Hey, Dave, yep, and Bianca. I didn't even
Yeah.
say hi to them. Hey, guys. But yeah, you pick, that's what you do. You go with someone that's lower tier, and then you work it up. And even if you have them temporary,
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I say this. That was my problem was Riri. So many of the good mantle ones were temporary, but there was a story behind it. Azrael,
Yeah.
Tom
Yeah.
Walker. So many of those had a story reason. Riri was the first one where there was no story reason, and felt like you knew there wasn't a reason behind this. Besides, let's just change. I mean,
She should have been, instead
yeah,
of Iron Man, she should have been Marvel's version of Steel,
yes,
right? Like Iron Man's out of the
the
hello
niece one,
Tevia.
the Natasha one.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying that Iron Man's out of the picture for some reason. I'm going to step up and be Iron Man in his place,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then Iron Man comes back, and it's like, well, can't call myself Iron Man anymore. One, I'm a girl, and two, he's back. So I'll now be Spitfire. Cool. And now, you know, I didn't make Jessica Cruz a Yellow Lantern. Ryan Cady made Jessica Cruz a Yellow Lantern. I
Yep.
just thought it was cool, so we kept it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and
Uh,
I was wondering about that, and it felt like in the free comic book day, something got lost in translation because there's a point where you see Jessica as a Green Lantern again. I don't know if that was a artist flub
um,
or something.
I don't want to cast aspersions. I think that editorially, they got about five people doing a 30-person job at
Yeah.
DC right now, and I think things get lost in the shuffle. Um, Green Lantern is a probably a B team book,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of those things that people are probably thinking, oh, um, not very much ever really changes with Green
Yep.
Lantern.
Hey,
You
Tavia,
know,
we'll get to those questions. We'll get to those questions. All
right?
right. I
Not
am gonna ask those.
not very much ever changes with Green Lantern, so I don't have to pay that much attention because when I check back in, it's going to be basically as I left it, and that's not why DC brought me in.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think some editors have a lot on their plate. I don't think people really
Oh,
appreciate
oh,
what they really have to do, and
yeah.
you have to forgive little errors like that because Stanley used to give out these things called no prizes, which
Yes.
was um,
Let
we
the
know we're
fans
going to
figure
screw
it out.
up, right? We're going to screw up. So instead, like the easiest thing in the world is going, hey, you screwed up. Yeah, duh. We're human beings. Occasionally we're going to screw up.
Mm-hmm.
But the fun part is come up with a cool fix. If you come up with a cool enough fix, we'll use it and you get a no prize,
Exactly.
right?
Good example. You have Bruce Banner, but I bet you called him Robert Banner. Whoops. Well,
Mm-hmm.
why do we have a B? It's Robert Bruce Banner, but he always goes by Bruce.
There you go. Simple fix,
Yep.
right? I think Kurt Busiek got his first Marvel gig because he said in the letters column, well, you guys are trying to bring Phoenix back, and that makes no sense. So, what about this? And they were like, you got Moxie, kid. Here's a no prize, and come work for Marvel.
Yep. I think though, but then they end up going with Stern's idea of how to bring
Yeah,
him back. But oh,
yeah.
you want to know an interesting little reveal that Peter David did that blew me away? Have you been reading his
Mhm.
Maestro comic?
Yeah,
The fact he revealed the minister, the guy who's been working alongside the
yeah,
maestro,
yeah,
was Toro, the Human Torch
yeah.
original psychic. You're like, I did
What?
not see that
What?
coming.
How would you? How
Yeah,
would
especially
you
when
see
he
that?
called himself Ralph in a prior miniseries, and it turned out that was a lie. But it's like,
He's a monster.
oh, geez,
Peter David's a monster.
he deserves
Uh,
much more recognition. If him and Robert Venditti are both alike in that regard, great
I
guys.
think that
Had,
I think the fan base gets. I don't want to use the word fickle because it's too specific. I think people forget if you stick around a long time and don't take a break and come back again. Like Peter David was writing the Hulk for a decade, right?
oh
Chris
yeah.
Claremont was writing the X Men for like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I think people get the new kids come in and they're like, well, boring, whatever.
Oh,
Oh, that guy.
that's part of why Claremont got the boot because Jim
Hmm.
Lee wanted to do some of the other stuff, and in the case of Peter David, he left in a huff because they wanted to make the Hulk a monster again. It's like, no, after everything I've done to him, I am not going to regress that far. I can give you a smooth
Right.
savage like a Hulk, and him going. I can remove the Professor Hulk and everything. That's fine, but I am not going back to him killing people.
Yeah, I'm not doing any of that. Yeah, exactly. I
Yep.
feel like, you know, sorry. I feel like not my wife.
Ah,
I'm
gotcha.
annoying my wife. The the yeah, so I think that happens sometimes that people get, well, that's the old school. That's like on both sides, frankly. Fans do it, and
Oh
frankly,
yeah.
editorial does it too. There's people who should
Yeah.
be employed that aren't getting gigs. And I'm
Oh
like,
yeah. I mean,
why? They're
sometimes you
awesome.
luck out. Sometimes you luck out, and you get like a Jeremy Adams who's bringing such an old school style to his Flash. And he
Hmm.
even I had him on a couple weeks ago. He flat out said, "Oh yeah, I could go dark, but that's not what I want to do." It's like, yeah, most other careers would have gone darker with their stuff. He's like, no, I
Yeah.
want to do fun. That's what I
Yeah,
want
I'm
to
here
do.
for the fun. Yeah, I'm not here for all of that cutting people's heads off and
Yeah,
all of that. Yeah,
but
no,
yeah,
thank you.
but back to Green Lantern. Which one did you
Okay.
feel really needed to be reworked, Joe or Teen Lantern?
Well, Joe was hard for me because I thought pardon me, Far Sector was a perfect sci-fi comic book. Now,
Definitely.
I've said this before. I told DC editorial when they said, "Would you mind using Joe?" I was like, I mean, Nora Jemisin is a world class writer. I'm good, but I'm not world class.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, are you sure she wants anyone to screw around with this? And they're like, are you crazy? Just do what we say. Not really,
Oh.
but basically that. And I said, look, you got to ask her if it's okay
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want to break her toy. It's a beautiful toy. A lot of
Right.
people love it, and I'm one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh, I
I
loved
don't
it
know if
too.
I'm good enough, right? And they asked her, and she said, "Cool, go for it." So I didn't feel Joe needed any reworking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I did feel Teen Lantern definitely needed some
Oh
assistance.
yeah. She
Um,
was. Let's be honest. She
she
was a little bit of a. I won't say Mary Sue-ish, but that borderline. Everything's coming to
It
her, and
was
it's
on the
like,
border. It was on
yeah.
the border, and the reason it was on the border is she was debuted in a teen book, and you could
Mm-hmm.
never give her enough time to really develop her. So all she was basically a power set and a set
Mm-hmm.
of characteristics. And I was like, and also all these people were hating on her just for being young, and I was like, Batman has like an army of Robins. You have no problem with that,
Oh yeah,
you
but
know.
yeah, and even
So
though she's called teen, she's technically a tween.
she's a big fat liar about all of this stuff, and she's from this horrible life. And once you read it, that's the thing. If you never read her origin stuff, and you think it's
Yes.
she hacked the battery with a laptop, well, I'm like, yeah, that's crap. You're right.
Yeah.
That's
That's
not what happened.
exactly. Exactly. It's just like, good God, people, actually read it. Oh, you don't want to read it. That's the
Oh
issue.
well, that's a whole bunch of not my problem, dude. That's all on you.
Exactly.
So I thought
Yep.
she was an interesting character, and I'm actually of the opinion, like a lot of Green Lantern fans, she's too young. There's no way
Mm-hmm.
she's a freaking Green Lantern. There's no way anyone lets her be a Green Lantern. The
Mm-hmm.
Guardians are never going to tolerate that, and the other Green Lanterns would be like, "What is this kid doing on the battlefield?" And what do you
Yes.
see in the first couple of issues? Guardians are like, "I don't know about this glove." And Guy Gardner's like, "Get that kid, she's in the way." Like she's
She has a
constantly
temper
underfoot.
tantrum.
Yeah, she does the things an 11-year-old does, and the Green Lanterns are all like, "Oh my god, with this kid,"
Yep. And where
and
did she get
yet
the gauntlet? Where did she get the gauntlet from? Where did that?
yeah,
It's
and
like,
all of that, and it's like she's brave, and she's
yes,
that person who wants to be a sidekick and really wants to do, and she's already in her own book in the Young Justice book, she's
yes,
shown she can handle the fighting part, right?
yes.
What we're talking about is why is Green Lantern not just a superhero, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go back to Earth and run around and call yourself the Gauntlet, no one's going to
Yeah.
say anything to you. But you're running around calling yourself Teen Lantern. That's our brand,
Yep. Yeah,
right?
Tavia. She was a
So
bit of a mess at first. At first, but I do
yeah,
think Geoffrey got her back on track.
yeah. Well,
And same with Simon.
I have lots of
Yep.
plans for Kelly. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how much of it DC is going to stick to now,
Mm-hmm.
but Kelly needed to go on a journey,
Mm-hmm.
and we had to. If you look at what happens to her in the Green Lantern first arc, in the
Mm-hmm.
Invictus arc, she shows up. She's cocky. She
Yep.
talks a lot of shit. She doesn't listen to anybody.
Yep.
Right? She
Mm-hmm.
literally tells the Guardians to go screw themselves.
Guy
Right?
loves her for that
And
one.
then right? And then she gets in the middle of this thing, and then the worst thing ever
Oh
happens.
yes.
He's literally at ground. Pardon me. Hold on.
Yep.
You're not helping me, police.
Don't
Okay.
worry.
So
Yeah, I was hearing it the whole time. I heard it.
you she's the only person who's conscious all the way through what happened in New York when the planes hit the Twin Towers.
Yes,
The
that's a
only
perfect
person
analogy.
who survives that wide awake the entire time. And if you
Mm-hmm.
look at Marco's Arch, that means she saw buildings falling down, people
Yeah.
screaming, dissolved in front of her, and she did her
Oh
best to save the people that were near her and didn't save them.
yes.
One of them died, and as far as she knows, maybe Simon too. That's how
Mm-hmm.
we meet Kelly in the first two issues,
Yes,
right?
this wide awake moment of getting hit with reality that she never got in Young
Like,
Justice.
you are not in this league, sis. You are not in this league, right?
Yes,
And then over the next few issues, what does she do? She bucks authority because she's 11. She gets told, sit still, do this, wear this, walk this way. She's like, I'm not doing any of that. Who's behind this? Sinestro. I'm about to kick that ass, right? And she flies off to do it, and she gets her ass handed to her. None of the things that people predicted I was going to do with her, none of them happened.
exactly, exactly. It's
Like,
like she needed.
literally none of them.
Yeah, and
And
again,
then
it's like it's
she
the type of
stays
stuff that.
in a
That's right.
coma for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the run. She's
Yeah,
literally in a coma for the rest of the run.
exactly. And then even with Joe, Joe still has the limitation of her ring that was established in
Yep.
Far Sector.
Yep. Yep. And so I didn't need to fix Joe in any way. It was
Mm-hmm.
fun to use Joe. People also seem to forget Far Sector is told by Joe.
Mm-hmm.
You're in her head the entire time. This is not that story. We're only outside her head watching her do stuff. We're watching
Yes.
Joe. In Far Sector, you're inside her head with her. So
Mm-hmm.
theoretically, if you like even one thing I did with Joe, you should run off and buy Far Sector,
I already got all
right?
the issues of it. I have everything.
I'm saying, well, you are obviously a lunatic, but
Ah!
the point is that these comics are intermixed with one another. So theoretically, if you see a character who's small in one comic and you want to know more, hopefully there is more.
Yep.
In Joe's case, there's more. Go get Far Sector. It's freaking awesome.
Now, I will say this. I don't think what also didn't help the case was the cover. What the heck was up with them picking this
Yo,
cover?
dude,
Very
I look. People made a much of this cover. I did not like that cover. I
mhm,
thought that was going to be the
a
I
variant.
thought that was going to be one of the variants. We had this beautiful Brian Bolland cover. By the way, Bernard Ching's a fucking G. Like his
Oh
artwork
yeah,
is
I've
fantastic,
met him.
but
I've
it
what can I say?
completely misrepresented what was going on in the book. She
Yeah.
shows up on like what 4 pages, 5 pages of the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
That scene takes up a page and a half, 2 pages, and then like she's just underfoot getting in people's way for the rest of the book. Like
Mm-hmm.
like to put that on the cover completely misleads the audience about what was going to happen in
Yeah.
this book. So I guarantee you that there are certain people who walked by, saw that cover, and went, "Nope." But
Yeah.
I don't have any control over that.
Right.
So I was just as surprised by the covers as everybody else
Mm-hmm.
when they would come out. I got input into the first 2 issues, and
Mm-hmm.
only in that I got a vote. I think there were probably 7 or 8 people who got a vote, and I got
Oh,
one vote. And clearly, my vote did not count.
yep.
Uh,
Tavia, they were all affected as well, especially by the end. By the end, oh boy, a bunch of lanterns got
yeah,
devastated.
we murdered a bunch of lanterns, and
Yep,
yeah,
and then brought him back.
um,
Brought him back. But who? Okay, that is the other thing I want to ask. Were you given a list of characters you want to have killed off screen? Like,
no,
okay,
no,
yeah, because I was
no.
wondering about that. Like, yeah.
What happened was okay. First of all, if you want to read a lot of the backstage crap, I have free annotations
Hmm.
up on my
I've read
Patreon.
some of those. Yep.
Okay, so there's a lot of the backstage stuff, but basically the process was once I took over the book, there were certain things DC wanted. They
Hmm.
wanted a more streamlined Green Lantern Corps.
Hmm.
Um, they thought, and I agree, and I think most fans of the franchise agree, too many human Green Lanterns. They're just too many. It doesn't make any sense. So come up with something for that. If you can. They didn't press it, but they were like, we wouldn't be mad at you if you could weed down from 7 to maybe 4 or 3
Hmm.
or 2 human Green Lanterns. And I was like, all right, we'll see what we can do with this. Um, uh, the biggest mandate was, and this survived multiple editorial changes. So I guess it's something the company just really was stuck on. Blow
Hmm.
up that battery,
Again,
right?
they already had done that before and then brought it back
I
for Grant
mean,
Rod.
I did not come in with that. That was something that was given to me. And even after Dan DiDio was gone and Jamie Rich was gone, all of that, that was a lock. That was
Yeah, I
definitely
don't.
off the table.
That's just weird. It's like you already blew it up during Vendetti's run. You brought it back for Willard's
Whatever,
run, and then you're blowing it up
whatever,
again.
whatever. You can't,
Yeah.
like, all you can do is try to figure a way to make it as interesting as possible. So,
Yes, which I think
you
you
know,
did. At least you didn't
I
blow up the whole
tried.
planet with it.
No. And so there was that. But yeah, there was no like murder them all. It was that I have my own, and this is what happens when any writer comes on. There are many things that are people take for granted that are fundamental to the Green Lantern mythology that, if you think about it in practical terms, don't make any sense. For instance, the the pizza pie graph of how the sectors work,
Hmm.
impossible. That's
Yeah.
literally impossible. Okay. If the universe is expanding, and Oa, which by the way also is impossible, but for this conversation, is the center of the universe, then that means that everything is expanding away from Oa. if it's the center of the universe. So that means that the pizza pie slices might be small enough when they're close to Oa, right?
Yes.
But way out on the fringe, that sector
Oh,
still patrolled by two Green Lanterns? That's not freaking possible.
and it used
It's
to be one. And it
ridiculous.
used to be one until Jeff Johns changed it.
Right, exactly. So that's nonsense. So what I thought was the sectors are not a pizza pie grid. They're areas of the space where the guardians are like, okay, we're in charge of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're going to talk, and they're not necessarily. Some of them are right next to each other, and some of them are spread out, which
Mm-hmm.
actually helps you. They're more like islands in all of the universe, which gives them a wider scope. But it also gives them a whole bunch of people who are like, no, we don't want the franchise here. We're not running
Right.
your sector. Sorry about it, right? And it gives them an oppositional force. So that was one thing that I was going to explore very deeply, and that's where the dark sectors came from. Was this is an area that we don't have control over?
Yes. That makes so
Sorry
much
about.
sense.
Also, 7,200 Green Lanterns. It sounds like an interesting, fun number, but one of the things that it does is back when John Broome brings that concept to DC, you didn't meet that many Green Lanterns,
No. Coming
right?
from the
You
artist
saw
to draw,
half,
yeah.
right, and occasionally another Green Lantern from time to time, rarely, right? So this
Mm-hmm.
idea that there was this vast cosmic force was okay, but at a certain point, we started seeing the full army of these Green
Mm-hmm.
Lanterns, and I'm like, well, that diminishes the uniqueness of Green Lantern from my point of view, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know people disagree, but they're not writing the book. I'm writing the book, and I
Right.
feel that there should be a lot fewer of these guys wandering around. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there should be like when a Green Lantern shows up on your planet, you should be either, oh, great, we're saved. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
thank God. Right.
Yes.
Or, holy shit, we're in real trouble. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my God. I guess we screwed up really bad. They sent a Green Lantern after us.
Yes. Oh boy,
Right.
that makes so much sense. Yes.
Right. Instead of this weird space cop nonsense, they're not cops. Nobody elected them. They don't represent a government. There's no Are the Guardians ruling the universe? I don't think so.
No,
So
and
they're
that,
not police.
even their excuse that, oh, we screwed up at the start of the universe, so we feel indebted.
No,
Who
sorry,
put you in
dude.
charge?
Nobody elected you. I
It's
put
your
that
own
in the
guilty
words of
conscience. You're just
Sinestro and some of the others even say, all you are is the oldest. Like,
yes.
you're just the oldest.
And
So
even then,
what?
we already know that's that bullshit because we know
Right,
Perpetua and the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor
right.
are older than them.
The oldest. So sit down. Right.
Yeah, it's like
So
what if the
all
Monitor
of that.
if the Monitor did it, would they question him? Probably.
Right, right. Exactly that. So I wanted to have the Guardians not necessarily be evil, but
Oh,
things
that's
that
been
work
done.
when you just well, when you hand wave it, like it's fine when it's a hand wave, but the problem with all of these characters, all the long-lived characters, is that so many writers have been on them, and their universes have been expanded so much that it diminishes their uniqueness. How
Hmm.
many Kryptonians are currently running around
Not as much as
DC?
the pre-crisis day, but I get what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? I'll tell you what, y'all should be lucky I don't get my hands on Superman.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
put
because
it like that.
Xavier was just asking that earlier
Yeah,
because
I would murder the shit out of nearly all the Kryptonians. There would be
oh,
Superman and Kara, and that's it.
I'm a crypto.
Okay. Crypto is a dog. He can stick.
Yep.
He's fine. I'm never going to hurt a dog.
Bazad.
But no, I think he shows up as sort of like the boss level villain for one arc, and then
Mm,
he's out.
yep. Hey,
Right?
I will give
Like,
Vendetti this though. He at least was the first person to ever utilize Zod and wanting to say, "Hey, wait, one of you Green Lanterns didn't save Krypton. I want revenge on."
yeah, that was great. And anyway, we
Yeah.
kept
Yep.
that,
Yep.
right? It's kind of our fault that Krypton blew up. I love that, right?
Hmm.
So, no,
And,
and again, this
yeah.
is not a knock on any particular writer.
Oh,
It's
right.
that
Right.
we look back over 50 odd years, 60 odd years, and you're like, okay, well, some of this garden needs some pruning, guys. It's just too big, you know?
Hmm.
So that was part of what DC wanted with Green Lantern. I just wanted to tell some fun stories. Um, the thing with the Mosaic arc
Oh
30
yes.
years ago, yes, Gerard Jones is a fucking monster, and he's in fucking
Yeah.
prison for being a fucking monster, and he's a shitty human being, and no one's endorsing that. But
Yeah.
Cully Hamner did the art on that book, and
Hmm.
other people inked it and colored it and edited it, and it's legitimate. They're not monsters. Why should they have to eat shit because one of the team is a fucking dick?
Yeah,
right?
and you cannot deny the right what his ideas, what he came up
Hey,
with.
I did not know then when I read that, and it made an impression on me as a young person,
Exactly.
what what I was going to get from him years later.
Yeah.
So, and they dropped the ball with John for 30 years. They dropped
Oh
the fucking
yeah.
ball. And so I was like, look, we're going to cover this. This is what we're going to do. One
And
way or
I'm
another, we're
applauding
covering
it.
this. So,
Yeah,
um,
and I also gotta say, I also like how you fixed Simon because I think Simon's been flailing since the beginning.
oh, poor Simon.
Yeah,
Poor
he's been,
Simon.
it's like unlike Jessica, who Jeff Johns was able to build up in Justice League. Simon was a
Yeah.
plot device to hold the fort until Sinestro and Hal came up, and then unfortunately, when you had I just forgot his name now, but the guy who did Green Lanterns,
Uh,
Humphreys, he ended
yeah,
up
yeah.
making trying to overly compensate by making Simon a bit of a Gary Stu by having it be, oh, he can heal. His well is so great
Yeah.
he can
Yeah.
heal a red
Yeah.
lantern without a blue lantern ring. It's like that's impossible.
No, I agree. You got, well, again, I never knock an individual writer because people are
Right. Oh no,
knocking
no.
me
I
right
get what he was
now,
trying to go for. I
right?
get what he was going for.
But he's not wrong. Simon was sort of a set of characteristics. He wasn't really a character. So what I thought was this is the problem you have when you it's not a problem. It's
Mm-hmm.
both a problem and an opportunity. When you have a secondary character like Simon and people are doing whatever with him to try to make him interesting over a decade, then
Mm-hmm.
you can look at that stuff and go, wow, this is all over the place. Let's figure a
Mm-hmm.
way to make it make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm not saying those things didn't happen because that's shitting on those writers. I'm not
Right.
trying to do that. I'm saying all that stuff did happen. Here's what it added up to.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So with Simon, depowering him, one, you start to see him as the sort of I'm the guy. I want if I did anything right by the end of the end of the three arcs, Simon would be in the hearts of the fans of Green Lantern the same way Kilowog is in the
Mm-hmm.
hearts of the fans of Green Lantern. He's one of those I believe in the core as a family. I will do and die for my people. Like he raised his brother basically back from the dead. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
that power worked.
Yeah.
He had
Uh,
green sight where he could predict the future or something, and I was
yeah.
just like, "What? What the hell is
Yeah.
any of this?"
Exactly.
Right?
It's like okay, Jessica had the cool characteristics, because you related to her. Simon, again, not knocking Humphreys. I'm not knocking. He was trying to come up with something, but I
Right.
think he gave him a kitchen sink power set that just made no sense.
So what happened at the end of the arc is sort of kind of what I did to John. I did a
Hmm.
smaller scale version of that to Simon.
Yes, I love.
You will if they allow me in
Hmm.
arc 2, you will see what that means for Simon and why he no longer needs a ring,
Hmm.
right? Because his power set is different.
Hmm.
And all of those what I call ring ghosts, but they made me call them revenants. Um,
Eh, potato,
um,
tomato.
whatever. Yeah, exactly. He is the conduit to those beings, and what they are. That's a
Hmm.
whole deal, and it actually powers him up, but it also gives him some limitations that other Green Lanterns don't have.
Hmm.
So whether they stick, by the way, DC has all of this. This is all arced out. So if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. But it's there for them if they want it. And by the way, because they own it, another writer can come along and do something with it.
Right.
So I'm cool with that too. But yeah, so Simon is no longer a Green Lantern, but he's necessary to the core in a really fundamental way, according to
Exactly.
me. Um,
Yeah. And I also just gotta say was again when you revealed about the origin about which guardian gave Joe her ring again it just felt like it made sense. It made a lot of
uh,
sense. Of like how do you fit what was questionable canon when Sparks Extra first started and make it definitely canon by this point, and you reveal, oh, this was a Guardian's long form scheme and plan.
Yeah, the Guardians played a long game even with each other,
Mm-hmm.
and the idea that her as a sort of back pocket, just in case Swiss Army knife
Mm-hmm.
appealed to me. It also explained why she was given the assignment she was given. You wouldn't give a rookie the Far Sector job
Mm-hmm.
unless you had a reason for her to be way out there by herself. You would have chosen some more seasoned Green Lantern, right,
Yeah.
who's used to alien cultures, right, to go out there
Exactly,
and handle that,
exactly. It was just simply
right?
like, here you go, drop him off in the middle of far
Yeah,
off space.
nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that unless you have an ulterior motive, which he clearly did. The other thing is the end of in real time. The end of Far Sector was within a month of Green
Yeah,
Lantern One, but inside the story, she was out there a minimum of 2 years.
right.
So when she shows up, she's been out there in the city enduring, doing whatever the hell, having Joe adventures for quite
Hmm.
some time. She's not a rookie. She shows up
Definitely
ready to
not.
play. So, and I think that that is also gives some future writer, you got a minimum of 2 years to play with in between the end of Far Sector and the beginning of Green Lantern, where you can do all kinds of Joe adventures that have nothing to do with either of those stories,
Hmm.
right? These are the kind of things I think about because it's the way I read comics, so it's the way I
Yes,
write comics. Um,
exactly.
yeah,
And well, of course, then you have issue 12, where just everything changed, and you had the Godstorm and all that. That was just now. I already know from Nerd your interview with Nerd that originally was meant to be one of the endless.
oh yeah. Well,
Yeah,
what that was the source was always going to show up in some fashion, but maybe
right,
not as big as it ended up doing. Um,
right.
we're going to introduce the endless as a sort of a weird thing for Lonar, the new god. Was one of the ways he was being able to jump around and be everywhere is that he would sneak into Destiny's garden and then
Mm.
jump back out again in the
Oh,
place he felt he needed to be. But he
mm,
had to. He's an idiot, by the way. You can't surprise or fool Destiny. Destiny knows
right.
everything, right? but right, but what Lonar foolishly thinks is, oh, I'm sneaking into the garden and I'll jump out here and I'll be able to help. But he's not really able to track the in between, right?
Right.
And he doesn't know what's coming next once he jumps back into regular space,
Hmm.
right? So he takes John to Destiny's garden in the original pitch, and they're both doing that. And
Hmm.
Destiny almost catches them from their point of view. And Destiny's like, okay, I guess this is the moment where you jump out of my garden again. like, like
And
whatever,
revealing,
idiot.
yeah, I knew, bitch.
Yeah, he always knows he's Destiny. It's right in the name.
Book of Destiny.
Right.
Hello.
So that was what that was going to be. And they were like, nope, you can't touch the Sandman universe. Get over yourself. So,
Uh,
well, whatever. Like, you
oh
have
no,
to
I
pivot.
know. But he appeared in Scott Snyder's, in Death Metal, and that was kind of a pointless appearance,
Hey,
really.
look, whatever I think of myself,
Hmm.
I think quite a lot of myself. But whatever I think of myself, I'm nobody's star in comic book writing. So
Give it
Snyder's
time.
going to get he's Snyder's going to get more juice than me. He's going
True.
to get
No, that's
leeway. He's
true.
going
That
to
is
get
true.
special perks. Right. I didn't take it. I was like, oh, okay, I can't do that. Oh, okay, I can't do that. And you pivot and you move on and you write something else that gets the same point across.
Oh yeah.
Um,
So the
yeah.
source with Jack Kirby, it's just reminds me of when Mark Waid had him be God in Fantastic
Yep.
Four. Like,
Yep.
and
And
people think
and
that's the one who sits
it's
above
because
all.
it's the source. It's
Yeah.
because it's the source. It's not like I randomly chose Jack Kirby because I am a huge Jack Kirby fan,
Yep.
but we were using the new gods in the source. So what gave John his power up? All this new god stuff. So who's
Hmm.
going to talk to him? The source.
Yeah.
Like anyway.
Yeah. And
So
now,
that was that.
yep. And one thing I wanted to ask was when it came to and you haven't gone to any of your annotations, but I figured I'd ask you it right here and now.
Okay.
You clearly were utilizing the cosmic Grail ring that Morrison had set
Hmm.
up. Was
Hmm.
and then at the end of it all, it's now gone and everything. Like,
Hmm.
what led to that?
Well, again, I love Grant Morrison. By the
Hmm.
way, I would say for me, a writer probably never gets higher than 90% because no one can hit everything
Right.
every time. And there's probably something Grant's written that I don't like, but
Hmm.
let's say of the possible 100, 90 hits, 90 home runs. Okay.
Right.
But what I don't like is I like for superheroes to be unique. And
Hmm.
the problem with Green Lantern is they're the thing that makes them as a group unique, right?
Hmm.
Is they're all the same. They all have the same weapon. So constantly upgrading one of them and then telling me inside the text, this one's the greatest one ever. I'm like,
Right.
yeah, let me decide that. I'm the audience. Let me decide who the greatest one ever is. Somebody might think Tomari is the greatest Green Lantern ever, and you don't get to tell them they're wrong. You, the
Mm-hmm.
writer, don't get to tell that person they're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I wanted to do is flatten the field again.
Mm-hmm.
Limit the number of Green Lanterns down to a manageable number that you can hold in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and there's no question of what each ring can do. Joe's ring is no longer unique either.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There are no more unique rings. All of the rings are exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was that. There was nothing against what was done in the Green Lantern. Morrison and Sharp did an excellent job.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously they did. How could they not? But Grant Morrison is basically our Jack Kirby, except they don't draw, right? So when you look at the Morrison verse, it
Mm-hmm.
works great and it hangs together in and of itself. But as with Far Sector, and what DC wanted was all of the Green Lantern properties to cohere once again. So
Right.
there are concepts that, based on what my run is supposed to be, could not work.
All right.
So I didn't want to go, well, that never happened. Rather say, all of that did happen, and
Mm-hmm.
here's what happened next.
Oh,
So,
that is much better. Because yeah, you could have just
right,
ignored what it did, but at the same time, the Cosmic Grail ring allowed Hal to operate, even though almost no one utilized him in that time. At least allowed
right,
off screen for Hal to have
right.
done stuff without having to worry about why. Wait, the power battery's gone. Why is it? Oh,
Right. It's
that's
also why he wasn't notified, by the way.
why.
Everybody else's ring blew up. Hal's ring didn't even flare. So he
Mm-hmm.
had no reason to think there was anything wrong going on Oa, because why would he? Right?
Except when he met up with Jessica, of course, in the
Well, yeah,
annual. That was
yeah,
candidate.
but that the time scales, like, and this is probably my fault.
Mm-hmm.
The time scales outside the dark sectors, that whole run took place over about maybe um I don't know, a month from
Right.
battery blow up to the end, like a
Right.
couple of weeks to a month, right? Inside the dark sector, like it's almost a year has gone by.
Right.
So Hal has no reason to look up from his assignment. Theoretically, DC, and by the way, I think they had planned initially, he was going to be on Earth doing stuff,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like
Right.
everybody wants Hal back on Earth fighting crime and being in Coast City. This would have been a perfect opportunity for that to happen. I just didn't have a page space to write those adventures, and frankly, I didn't have the inclination to write those
I
adventures.
don't blame you.
Not
Oh
interested
yeah, I
in that.
forgot you hate Hal.
Yeah, I'm just not interested. There's nothing inspiring about that, and it would have bored the crap out of me to write it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but those stories, like with Joe, if someone wants to tell those stories, they're there to be told. He was there for several weeks to to a month,
Mm-hmm.
just kicking it on Earth. Theoretically, he had some adventures,
Yep.
like
Oh,
whatever.
Bianca, myself, and comments asked, "Is there a techie hacker Green Lantern?"
I mean, I think what makes the Green Lanterns interesting
Mm-hmm.
is if you were that prior to getting the ring, then
Mm-hmm.
that's the way your imagination makes the ring work,
Yes.
right? So the interesting thing about Green Lanterns is what their personal individuality brings to it. So like
Exactly.
Kyle Rayner was a cartoonist; he was the first one ever, and
Mm-hmm.
so all of his constructs were like wild, outlandish, comic booky,
Oh yeah.
anime, whatever.
John's an architect.
Um,
He's going to always think about. That was one of my favorite bits that I will always give
right,
John's props. Was that final issue of Rebirth where they described how each of their constructs are different, and
very different.
yeah, and they say Kyle is an artist who's never satisfied, so he's always redoing it in the middle of creating it. Hell,
Yes, exactly.
the guy is like a ball in a china shop and all that. It's
Hmm.
like,
I love that, right? So the answer to the techie question is sort of like when Joe shows up and all those yellow lanterns attacked her,
mm-hmm,
you expect her to do a big giant fist or something like that. But no, she puts a pentaract around them and goes, "You guys just get a timeout while I go talk to your boss. I'm not here to fight anyone."
mm-hmm.
Right? So that's a personality trait. Another lantern, say Simon, would have gone right at it and just started swinging,
Oh
you know?
yeah, definitely. He would have been all like making the gun const. Oh no, I can't
Yeah.
forget if he still does that or not, but you know what I mean. So he
Ugh.
still would have been all like,
Yeah. So I think that the answer to the question is must be yes,
mm-hmm,
but it does. If you're saying is there a lantern that only deals with technology as part
mm,
of the organization, Nah, probably not.
You
Like,
know,
I wouldn't call that person a Green Lantern.
exactly. I mean, hey, there's some lanterns who almost never use his ring, like that one Rocky guy who almost
Right,
never utilizes
right,
it except to fly and defense.
right. That's right. Because
Yep.
do I need it? I'm indestructible.
Exactly, exactly. It's like, hey, I've never needed this ring before. Why should I start now? And
Yeah,
then allow him to
I've been
do a
kicking ass for years.
exactly, and allow him to do a perfect energy blow with all of his energy at the anti-monitor and his Sinestro Corporal. You're like, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly, exactly, and that's the fun stuff, right?
Yes,
But
exactly.
also the deaths of the Green Lanterns.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
People,
definitely.
I'm I've said this and I'll keep saying this.
Mm-hmm.
No one would have cared if it hadn't been face lanterns. If I
Or like
just killed a whole
Aricia.
bunch of alien lanterns,
Yeah.
if it just been people you never heard of, some gangly insect dude that you never met, oh, it's very sad in an abstract way, you wouldn't have felt that. But you fucking felt it when Arisa was floating there in space, didn't you?
Oh, jeez. Yeah. That when I heard that she was gone, I'm like, no. But
Yup.
but it makes
That's where we're
perfect
living.
sense. It makes perfect
So,
sense because there's a reason why there so any lantern that's not from Earth is cannon fodder, whether you like it or not. I mean, that's
yeah,
exactly what. Oh, anybody excited for the Jon Stewart animated movie? I am.
I am very much so. A good friend of mine is playing John, and another good guys I've worked with before. I wrote
Hmm.
it, so why wouldn't I be hyped? I'm
Oh,
hyped.
oh, you were. Oh, yeah, yep. And yeah, just I cannot wait for that movie. And it's set in this new what I've heard people call the
Oh, the
Tomorrowverse.
Tomorrowverse.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yep.
love the art. It's so clean. I
Oh
love it.
yeah. I love it too. And now that we know for certain that the old universe is gone, thanks to the Constantine short, yeah,
Right.
gone. But
No, I mean I didn't dislike the other one. The thing about
no.
Warner Animation, DC Animation is they've
Hmm.
been taking really big swings for quite a while, and they're
Yep.
excellent. So,
G. Roy wants to say congrats. Tell him she said congrats.
oh, thank you,
Your friend, and I
thank
think
you
he also
very
means
much,
your friend too.
thank you very much.
but um, but yeah, you were saying about DC and Warner Brothers animated.
Yeah, I just love that they've been taking really big swings recently all
Hmm.
the time. Until What If, Marvel
Hmm.
Animation was never ever putting a team on the field. They
Oh
just
no,
never put a team on the field. Not
no,
really. And
not
DC
yeah.
was like, no, we're going crazy. One of my favorites was Gods and Monsters, that alternative Justice League
Oh
book.
yes, the Elseworlds one.
Oh my God, that was so amazing.
Yes.
And Marvel would have never tried that.
Oh no,
Like,
and again, I love the comic prequel, and what I love best is Superman is not evil. He's
no, it's
roguish a
Zod.
bit. Well, it's a Zod, but it's like
It's
he's
Zod's
not.
son.
Yeah, but he's not evil. He's just roguish, and because where he grew, it was more because he where he grew up and how he was raised. He was in all
Yeah,
that.
he's a different dude, but he's not evil. He's just more ruthless, essentially, than the one we're used
Yeah,
to.
vampire
But he
Bianca. Yeah,
doesn't.
vampire Batman using Man Bat.
Fucking A, baby. You're damn right.
Yep,
That was
yep,
awesome.
yep. And what's her name? What's her name from the New
Oh, the
Gods?
Wonder Woman, the new god, the new
Um,
god Wonder Woman.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, oh geez, what's her name? Hold on.
Didn't she have her mother box was part of her sword? That
Yeah,
was
Becca,
awesome.
Becca, Becca.
Becca, right.
Yeah, yeah, Orion's wife and everything. Yeah, it's like, duh. What has there been a writer in the GL core? Oh, probably.
Oh, I see what
Yeah,
you mean.
yeah. I
I
think
don't
that's yeah,
know.
yeah. I'm sure probably one of the alien ones were writers on on their place.
Was Jack T. Vance or whatever, Jack T. Chance, was he a writer? And
I
like,
don't.
because
I
his
don't even.
stories were like these hard boiled detective things.
Hmm,
So maybe he was writing them. I don't know.
maybe. Dang, I was thinking. Big Bar in Birth. Oh no, no, it was Becca.
It was Becca. It was
Yeah,
Becca.
they wanted to go with someone more obscure than Big Barda, and I think Becca was a perfect choice.
Yeah, that was an awesome. But I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
DC animation has been swinging for the fences for a while. The
Oh
idea
yeah.
that they could create Teen Titans Go and regular Teen Titans
Soul of
and
the
Young
Dragon.
Justice.
Look at Soul of the Dragon.
Come on, man. Oh, I'm right now. I'm watching Catwoman the Hunted, which I
Oh
didn't expect to
yes.
like, and it's fun.
I know you would not expect just by looking at it, you're like, oh, where did they hit a dud here? And I would say this: Teen
No,
Titans
it's
Go
fun.
I think Teen Titans Go had a very sluggish start, mostly because even the writers themselves admit it was quantity over quality for a good length of time. But I think finally after the movie and after Cartoon Network stopped having them just chug it out, chug it out, chug it out, they've been able to
Yeah.
get some quality stuff into it because they admitted we were just writing whatever idea came to our mind, whether it was good or not, because
Look,
Warner Brothers wanted us.
I have no idea how they write that show. I cannot
Yeah,
write that kind of
I'm just saying
material,
what I've
but
heard from
it kills
interviews.
every time. It
Yeah,
kills every time.
yeah,
Anyway,
but
yeah, Vampire Batman. Definitely
yeah,
Vampire Batman. If you
yep.
have not seen Gods and Monsters, you need to rush right out, right now. It is awesome.
Yep. Now, so and just to wrap up with the Green Lantern side of things, yeah, from what I saw, I'll say this: after it all came out, and I just started seeing some from what I call the usual suspects of YouTubers I see, people saying, "Oh, he ruined Green Lantern. He doesn't get Green Lantern." It's like, really, guys, because and where were you when Jeff Johns shook up things when he came back? Where were you guys are sounding like the Heat? You're sounding like
You
Heat
know,
after
I'm not.
yeah,
I'm not mad at those guys. I'm mad at
right,
the ones that take. Let me rephrase that. I'm not mad at any of them because who gives
hmm,
a shit.
right,
But the ones that try to take personal shots, that's
hmm,
some bullshit. They should
yeah.
leave. They should leave the creators alone in that regard. It's perfectly
I
fine to hate on
agree.
the work because that's part of the deal we make. If you put the work out, some people are going to hate it, and you're just going to have to suck that up.
Hmm,
But in terms of a lot of the stuff that was said about all that,
hmm,
yeah, okay, I don't like Hal. I'm never backed off of that, and I'm never gonna like Hal. I've been
hmm.
around Green Lantern for 40 odd years, and I'm entitled to that opinion. Um, a lot of people don't like Jessica existing. Oh, apparently, a huge number of people hate the Teen Lantern for some reason.
exactly.
And I'm like,
Exactly.
all of that is fine. All of that is absolutely fine.
Hmm.
I'm not mad at anyone for not wanting to read the book. They don't have to. Okay, it's not you're not being drafted. No one's forcing
Right.
you. You absolutely don't buy the stuff you don't want to buy. But
Exactly.
I was never there to screw with anybody. I was
Yes.
never there to hurt anyone's feelings. I was
Hmm.
never there to shoot your favorite lantern in the face. That
Right.
was never the issue. So if you're making it that issue, that's some bullshit you brought in with you,
Ugh,
and you
agree.
can take it right back out with you when you go. Like
Exactly.
I'm not interested.
Yeah, because I agree with you because that was always my biggest issue with all this. It's like I hear all these guys saying, "Oh, these pros have done this, the pros have done that." I was like, yeah, I was there when a lot of this started. People, you guys were tagging them into stuff and telling them they were hacks and all that. It's like, yeah, you guys are not sunshines, and you're upset that they pushed back on you guys, and now it's reached a point now where they are so you can't. Can you blame them for assuming, oh, these guys are not real fans because you don't act like fans? Can you blame them?
No, I mean, I guess like I I don't get mad about things that don't matter, and like 99% of this shit doesn't matter.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah.
um, what I will say is, I feel bad for those creators. All people forget what the lifestyle and what the mindset of people who write or draw for a living is. They're mostly solitary,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're mostly by themselves doing their job. That means they put
Mm-hmm.
on headphones or they have some sort of back, maybe no noise at all, but they work in a room. They're quiet, right? They're not used to being the front facing part of the team. I, on the other hand, was an actor for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very much used to being the front face of anything. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care. Like, bring it. I got you. But a lot of these people, it really freaks them out and it really hurts them in an
Oh yeah.
emotional, real world emotional way. So I have to ask myself, are you trying to hurt these people in this way? Do you want them to fold up shop? Because when they come back at you, it's like, leave me alone. Right? I
Exactly.
think everybody thinks they're the
Yes.
only one who said it, but a lot of the time you're the 10,000th person who said it.
Exactly. It's like these same people would say, like, "Oh, they don't ever get death threats because I know, like, these people, no one sent death threats." Like,
Bullshit.
yeah, exactly.
Bullshit.
Now, do some of these creators make like blow it out of proportion a little bit?
Sure.
Yes, I
Sure.
can agree to that.
Sure.
But say they never got and it's all made up? No.
No, I get them. I got them with
Yeah.
Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And but
Exactly.
again, these people are not as what's the word? I don't know. I don't want to say they're not net savvy, but they're definitely not social media savvy in that regard.
Yeah.
They think it's all fun and games, and then they'll displease the wrong set of. This is a good example is occasionally on my Twitter feed, I will just make a statement. I'm not targeting anyone. I'm not
Right.
subtweeting anyone. I will
Right.
just make a statement about comics.
Hmm.
And I made one about, I said, Wanda was right about No More Mutants. And people dived on me. Hundreds of people were like, you are a genocidal racist and you don't like gay people and all this other stuff. And I was like,
What?
no, it's actually an editorial decision. There's just too many fucking mutants in the Marvel universe.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And
Now,
if it took Wanda waving a wand to get rid of 90% of them, I'm behind her 100%.
now,
Right?
granted, it helps that it was another case of I'm undoing what Morris did because Morris is the one who revealed a huge amount of crazy mutants
Oh
that
my
popped up.
God. Too many mutants. But the point is, it's all like, there's a lot of conversation on the left about how bad the right wingers are for this
Hmm.
kind of behavior. But everybody who jumped on me was a left winger. And I told them to go
Exactly.
fuck themselves. Like, I don't
Exactly.
care.
Exactly.
But I think that the people who get really weirded out by this kind of attack, they're just not used to it. Like it
Yes.
really does really and truly freak them the fuck out. And they don't know what to do. They want everyone to leave them. Please just let me write my stories. Not
Yes.
I'm not at your house yelling at you. I'm not telling you how awful you are for liking something I don't like. I just want to write my stories and go home.
Yes.
Leave me alone. And I think they should be allowed that. I think that kind of creator should be allowed that. They don't owe you. I can take it. I'm here
Hmm.
for it. But
Yeah.
those that can't, leave them be. My God, they're just
That's what I
people, for
say.
God's
That's what
sake.
I say. And I found is I kind of got a good word to describe what their issue is that I call bullshit on. They
Uh-huh.
believe they believe, oh, it's the intent. It's like you don't know their intent. Oh, but they
No,
go on
you don't.
social media and state their intent. They may state one of their intents, but that's not all of their intent.
You know
Like,
what? I'll say this in that argument. Let's say that is their intent.
hmm,
Let's say that they have the secret desire to make all mainstream superheroes gay.
yeah,
That's their desire. Are all mainstream superheroes gay?
nope,
Nope. Are 90% of them gay?
not even,
Nope. Are 50% of them gay? Nope. Are
nope.
40% of them gay? Nope. So
I
what the fuck are you worried
yeah,
about?
I I'd lowball and say maybe 10%. If
Maybe 10.
yeah, I mean
Oddly
by
enough,
now
that's
I
one
would
of the.
agree. By now, yes.
So everybody feels like I don't like, if I don't like your favorite character, somehow I'm coming at you. I'm not even thinking about you. I'm
Hmm.
literally not even thinking about you. So
Exactly.
I know
Exactly.
they absolutely don't get paid enough. Comic book
Yeah.
pros do not get paid
Oh
nearly
no,
enough.
they don't. No, they do
I
not.
agree, and they should get profit share in the characters that they create, or the story arcs that get adapted into motion pictures or TV shows. They should get a chunk. They should
Oh
get a
geez,
cut.
I just had a
1%,
realization. I
a
just had a
1% cut
sorry.
would be a life changing pay grade, and it would not affect the bottom line.
Yep. Oh geez, those that say 50% bullshit. If you had
Bullshit. Bullshit.
now,
Bullshit.
if you sit out,
Bullshit.
would you want to be generous? Say the 50% of the ones that have folk and that are being utilized currently. Not even that. But if you
Not
want,
even that.
yeah, not
Right?
even that. But uh,
Well, okay. I will close out my rant about Green Lantern.
hmm,
Green Lantern, starring Hal Jordan, has been the rule for what, the last 60 odd years. With the decade, except for the decade where it was mostly Kyle,
right.
it's been mostly Hal. Right?
Mostly hell, definitely.
Right before I take over, we did a 2 year run with one of the biggest stars in the history of comics writing it.
Hmm.
And it was not just featuring Hal, it was basically just Hal. The rest
Yep.
of the core was like a bunch of made up randos, if you saw
Yeah.
them at all.
Yeah, like a
Okay.
volcano head. Like, ugh.
So when people were yelling, they're like, look what they're doing to my boy. He's been erased forever and all this other stuff. And I'm like, he was literally here a month ago after a
Yeah,
2 year run. No one is erasing your hero. Relax. Like, and
exactly.
even just on an economic level, DC is never going to kill Hal Jordan. Okay?
Nope.
I don't care what rumor you're hearing. I don't care what person you think is in the nose. Like, they're definitely killing. They're never going to kill
No.
Hal. Just like they're never going to kill Bruce Wayne, they're never going to kill Diana
Exactly.
Prince. Get over yourselves. It's not happening.
Uh,
God
Seriously,
damn.
they'll sooner kill off the new characters than they will their main long stay.
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly
Chase
that.
Fox, oh, he's probably on the chopping block much sooner than Bruce is.
I'm telling you, and he might die horribly. Like,
Ugh.
he won't even just die; he'll die horribly.
Oh yeah,
So
hey, remember Ryan Choi? How he
I was
got
just
killed
thinking
off
that.
horribly? It's
Yeah,
like
poor Ryan Choi. What was he doing but being the Atom? And he got
exactly.
horribly killed.
And they just wanted to be edgy to start off this evil Slade's Titans book. Now,
Look,
granted, they brought him back in Convergence, but still.
there's just too much money invested in these characters over too long a period of time. Hal Jordan is absolutely 100% safe. Dick Grayson, absolutely
Oh,
100% safe.
yes.
Right? Like these characters that have been here longer than we've been alive, and
Hmm.
I'm 50 plus. So if a character has been around here longer than me, that character's not going anywhere.
I'm
Okay,
36, and
there you go.
yeah. It's like I think even my girl, Dr. Light, could be off sooner.
I told you before off air. If I ever get a chance to
Yep.
do Greek Global Guardians, she's on that team.
Now, asked, what about Connor Kent? I think Connor's earned a spot where he's less likely, not guaranteed off, but I think he's earned a bit more protectiveness compared to other characters.
Yeah, I think he'd probably get massively altered before they'd kill him.
Exactly, like they
Right?
did with New
But
52. They completely altered
Jason
him.
Todd is hey, Jason Todd got beat to death with a crowbar and he's running around having a ball.
Yep.
So
Bianca just did the math. 7 billion people with 4% of LGBTQ. 4% is, yeah, you're telling me there's much LGBTQ in Marvel and
exactly.
get out of town.
Wait, that's Bianca. Myself in comics is Bianca.
Yep, that's Bianca. Hmm.
I've not met you, Bianca, but I'm aware of you.
Yep. Um, but yeah, though. So moving on to Blood Syndicate, and
Yay!
I loved this first issue. It was already like because you already got me hyped up again on Tristan's your interview with her and everything, just talking about what you had in mind and how anyone that was already gay or whatever in the original one, you ain't changing that in here.
Yeah,
And
they're still gay. Yeah.
exactly, and Chris Cross, I mean, he's one of the original Milestone artists. It's just so
Yep.
great to have him
Chris
still
is a diva.
continuing doing it. I
Hey,
mean,
he is. We were lucky. I mean,
mhm,
he's an amazing artist. Um, he's a great partner. He and I have worked together now on several projects.
mhm,
Um, the It's easier to work with. Like if I ever get to work with Marco again, if I ever get to work with Tom Rainey again or Kari
mhm,
Randolph again, I spend enough time working with these artists where I can now shorthand my scripts. But
mhm.
whenever I start with a new illustrator, my scripts are fairly dense because I can't trust they're going to draw what I want them to draw.
Right.
Right? They may go, I don't get this. This is really boring panel. Let's spice it up.
Mhm.
And I'm like, no. It needs to be quiet. It needs to be dead quiet here. I don't need any dragons. Can we take the dragon out? you know. So
Mm,
Chris is great. He's basically way more in charge of the visuals, like
mhm.
the redesigns of a lot of these characters that are coming that nobody else has seen but me. People are going to lose their shit. Like
Oh yeah.
it's going to be great. Um,
If I could
it's
say one thing I love about him, his smiles, the smiles he gives
yeah,
people. I'm like,
yeah,
no one does smiles like he does. This type of,
yeah.
especially with the black characters. It's like, I hate to say it, but I see a lot of artists do black characters smiling. Something feels a little off about it. But when I see
What, they look sinister or something?
sometimes, but when he does it, you get this smugness, and if the character is smug, you get this smugness, or you get this other stuff, and you're just like, that feels more like when I see a black person smile. This type
I
of.
feel like I feel like good artists, especially in comics, certainly in animation, they have to do the job of the director, the job of the
Hmm.
cinematographer, and the job of the actor. And many a fan favorite artist said this, and I might have even said it in a Tristan's thing.
Hmm.
They draw one woman,
Yep.
and then they put different clothes on her, and they change the color of her skin, or they might change her hairstyle. But you look at it close, and you're like, wait, that's they're the same. Isn't that one supposed to be 50 and that one's a teenager? How?
Yeah.
Wait, Chris is one of those kind of artists like Marco, like Kari,
Hmm.
like Tom, where
Hmm.
the like German, God,
Like Perez.
like Perez,
And I mean,
where
not Burn though. Burn
they're
always had.
acting, they're
Yeah.
acting, they're
Hmm.
acting.
Yes. Very much so. Or Kevin McGuire.
Yeah. Oh God, where's
Yeah.
he? Holy
Jeez.
crap!
Yeah, his
He's
are his faces. Yeah, his faces. They just these like these scrunches, but the stuff you're just like he's one of the few people I can accept doing the 9 panel nothing but faces because they're none of them are
right,
ever identical.
right. There's never a nothing but faces. It's just here's
Yeah, it's
nine
like
panels of some really great acting.
exactly, exactly. That's what I love best about his artwork, especially. But again, though, with Milestone in general, I am so glad because people always wonder, like, is it Milestone DC? It's never DC owned by it
It's
anyway.
not.
It's
Well,
always
it,
well,
not
they're kind of
traditionally, and
right.
when
They're at the
DC
hip.
absorbed them,
Oh,
when DC they weren't initially. There's a
mm-hmm.
big misconception. They
Yeah,
made a publishing deal with an independent company called
yeah,
Milestone Media. They got
mm-hmm.
exclusive publishing rights to just the first wave, not even
Mm-hmm.
all publishing rights, just the ones we know. So if they
Mm-hmm.
decided to come up with Milestone 2.0 and use completely other characters, DC gets none of that, literally
Right.
zero. Okay. But over the years,
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne got bigger and bigger. And
Yep.
at some point, I think, frankly, DC realized they had a minority problem.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, well, you guys have nothing but that. How about we buy you out? And
Mm-hmm.
I think Dwayne, to his credit, resisted that for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And truth be told, I was one of the people who said, yes, please keep resisting. Don't do it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And my reasoning was, and I've said this before, people have heard me say it. If you bring in Wildstorm, if you bring
Mm-hmm.
in Milestone and DC Comics absorbs them,
Mm-hmm.
the best Mr. Majestic is ever going to be, absolute best, is number two after Superman,
Oh, yep.
right? But in Wildstorm, he's number one.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the same thing with Icon and all the others. So when DC tried to fold them into the DCU the first time around,
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne was still alive. And he's like, don't worry, Jeff. I'll be here. I'll make sure it works right. And then that
Mm-hmm.
didn't happen. And then Dwayne died. So
Uh,
the Milestone 2.0, the real 2.0, was
mm-hmm.
DC trying to do it, and they fucked it up.
Yeah.
And that was with them trying to bring in the original creators, a lot of them, but they would
Mm-hmm.
saddle each original creator with a person who had not been around from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, do it like this. No, do it like this. Like, dude, we know how to do what
Mm.
we made up. We made this up. You can't tell us how to do it better. We already know how to do it. And it didn't
Exactly.
work. It didn't work. So
Mm-hmm.
the um so this time around, different heads are in charge,
Mm-hmm.
and they call it Earth M, which I think is great. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just its own thing, which is what it needs to frickin' be. So
Exactly. And I gotta say this one thing that I'll be honest, especially given how some people are about. I gotta say it was McDuff. It was Dwayne when he made Icon a conservative and had Rocket be a.
people lost their shit.
Oh yeah, but I just love that. And even with the current stuff, you would. And some people, I'll be honest. I will be honest. I was one of those who was a bit leery of how much of that they're going to keep, and I am so grateful they have kept it no different. No,
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
can I?
yeah,
Can you
yeah.
blame me for being a little weary, given how some creators have been outspoken about? You're like,
Well,
oh, they're going to. And it
I
shows how
think
much
it's
they respect
execution.
Wayne.
I think a lot of it's execution. Reggie knows what he's doing. Brandon knows
Hmm.
what he's doing.
Hmm.
Um, full disclosure, Static has never been my favorite, only because I don't go for that kind of superhero for the most part. I'm
Hmm.
not a big Peter Parker fan either,
All
or
right.
Miles Morales, but not because they're bad. I just like, yeah, they're teenagers.
Oh,
That's too long ago for me. I just don't give a shit.
yeah.
But for the other three, I actually am deeply invested, and
Hmm.
these are good writers, so they're executing well. My only hope is I don't drop the ball. That is my
Right.
biggest fear, is not to drop the ball. So
Exactly.
um, we're having a good time. We got a lot of interesting stuff planned. Um, for hopefully for people who've read the original, they will
Hmm.
allow the fact that it's now 2022, it's no longer 1993. So
Exactly.
we have to do a lot of things differently because a lot of that stuff just won't play anymore, you know?
Uh, uh, Tavia, I know. Okay, Tavia's one of those guys who really wants to DH John and get him back and everything. And I get,
Oh, all right.
and
You can do that easily. You
oh
can do
yeah.
that easily. If you want to, without any big upheaval, you can make a short arc of maybe
Hmm.
4 issues where a character like the Time Trapper or
Hmm.
Kronos or one of the time
Extant.
manipulator characters, right, does something that is really dangerous. And you can make it a really heroic thing that causes people to either go up and down in terms, it either adds age or takes away age, as
Hmm.
depending on what the bad guy wants to do.
Hmm.
And in order to win the day, John being the only person standing at the
Hmm.
moment, right, would
Right.
have to sacrifice himself, knowing that I might not come back out of this. And everyone thinks he's going to get de-aged out of existence,
Right.
right? And he dives into whatever and destroys the thing, beats Kronos, beats the Time Trapper, whatever. There's this huge ball of energy, whatever. And then when it's clear, everyone's like, "Did he die? Oh my god!" And what you see is 10-year-old John.
Now, does he remember
John.
everything, or is he
No,
lost?
he lost those
Oh,
years too. He lost
oh,
all
that
the
would be nice.
intervening years. Right. And what's fun is you don't de-age Damien,
Hmm. David,
right?
I think you meant to do a thumbs up, not a thumbs down.
But you don't de-age Damien. You don't de-age any of the people who remember grown up John. Now they
Hmm.
have to deal with re-euthanized John, including his parents. Now have a
Hmm.
10-year-old again.
Yep.
And that can be fun. Now
And
I'm
if
not
you
saying
want,
you
yep,
should do that, but it's an
right.
easy fix.
Oh, it is very much an easy fix. Okay, Mike, I was just bring up Mike McCone wish all of CG to die. Kind of random bringing that up, dude.
Yeah, okay. I don't know him, and I
I
don't
don't know.
know
I just
them,
saw
and
him
I
at the
don't care,
con. I just saw him at the con, and it's like, again,
dude. If they got beef with each other, that's between them.
yeah,
I
exactly.
don't give a
Don't be
shit.
bringing, yeah, don't bring, yeah, you don't need to bring that up to everyone to ask them, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Not all pros interact with each other, and even those that do, yeah, again, it's just, that's one thing. No offense, Michael, I don't care for that type of stuff on my channel when people bring that up. It's like, come on, man. All right, we're talking about fun stuff and everything. Let's not go into that.
Don't worry about it.
Yep.
All you need to know, at least when I'm being interviewed, I don't give a shit about that. Like that's some bullshit. Go have some fun
Right.
with it with your other friends.
Right. But back to with Dwayne. One of the things again when you were on Tristan's stream that I just loved you bring up was what how much you got screwed over on Justice League. And
Okay.
I still remember this. If you want to hear a funny story, the when Dr. Light showed up, I'm actually the one responsible for that. Believe it or not. No, believe it or not. I once asked at a convention, who I had asked to Dan Didio himself, when is Dr. Light going to pop up? Justice League, just you wait. I then eventually emailed Dwayne back when he had that stuff, and he said, I have no idea. She ended up popping up. When I met him at Motor City, I brought him up. He said, yeah, that's the funny thing. When you emailed me, I didn't hear about this. And then eventually Dan said, why don't you put him in the Justice League? And yeah, so I'm like, oh my God, I'm the reason
Oh,
she appeared. And then eventually James Robinson reused her and she got a new lease on life. And Dwayne was able to undo what was done to her in Green Arrow, which apparently from what Judd Winnick and Dan DiDio himself had told me, they were going to make her the new Ray. But that
oh
felt
wow.
yeah, but the creator they had fell by the wayside, and it's like you took her off the board in a brutal fashion. Seriously, I still hate that issue. And
Well, the fun part about most comic books, I would say,
mhm.
most superhero comics is there's really no change you can't walk back in about 3 issues,
Well, for the
right?
most part,
Like we have the Winter Soldier. How long
hmm
was Bucky dead? How long was Bucky dead? If
yep.
you can bring back Bucky, anything can be fixed.
And I
Anything.
think Brubaker himself had said he lucked out in that everyone was too scared to bring him back. That every time it did, it was never ever real.
Right.
And I
Right.
think he always felt like that was my one advantage. No one ever even tried, so I had a way
He's
around it.
being
It was
he's being humble though, because if he had written it poorly, it
Oh
would have been
yeah.
a one-off, and he would have died again at
Oh,
the end of it.
definitely, definitely. Kind of like when Morrison almost did with Damien. He was about to die in that first arc, and then
Yeah, he
uh, uh,
was, and he
uh,
was too
Tomasi,
popular. He was
yeah,
written
well,
to be killed.
not just that,
Yeah,
Tomasi told him, no one's going to give a shit about this little brat. We need to build him up to his death first. And now I will say this, though. Morrison did not endear anyone to Damien until Batman and Robin, when he did that book.
yeah.
But even then, it took Tomasi even more so making, and Brian Q. Miller in Batgirl for people to truly love the little bastard.
Well, that's the same thing with Kelly as Teen Lantern,
Mm-hmm.
is that there's a lot of pushback against Damien, and it took quite a while. Like I
Yep.
dislike Damien to this
Oh,
day, like just as a personality. I'm like, fuck this kid,
yeah, he's a
but
brat.
the he's a freaking asshole. but the point is, multiple writers took time
Mm-hmm.
to say, all right, these things that many of the fans don't like about him are absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see how far we can move that needle. If
Yes.
not, he can still die. But if
Mm-hmm.
pardon me, if we can, we get a cool character out of it, and they were able to do so.
Yep.
So, you
I
know,
mean, look at also, you want another case of a character who got completely overhauled, and when you thought there was no way they can fix him, Dr. Arthur Light, the original, the villainous one.
oh
Oh boy,
Christ, oh
good
my
God.
God,
Yeah, remember how they made him Dr. Rapist pretty much, and they went
oh
over.
my God, oh my God.
But then they fixed him in New 52, made him a hero, and apparently the husband of Chemio. I don't know if that's still canon or not. And then
Uh,
eventually he converts himself.
hey,
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen at the end of Dark Crisis,
Yeah.
but
I know she's in
currently
it.
everything is canon, so we're
Yep.
good.
So, but yeah, but eventually, after he sacrificed himself, he then was reborn as a light being, and it
Right,
slowly got darker. Not
right,
all the way.
right,
Uh,
right.
yep.
Well, again, that's right writer, right moment, right
Hmm.
character, right time. You know,
Right idea.
there's too many things going on all the time. We don't really know. A good going back to the Mosaic
Hmm.
arc of John's comic book Mosaic. That was 30 years ago. I was a
Yeah.
kid, right? I read
Hmm.
that. It made an impression on me. It ended too early for no market reason. It was just squashed by a senior editorial. It disappeared, never referred to again. But it
Well, that
made
was
an
the worst
impression
part.
on
That was the
me.
Yeah, that was the worst part. Was when they never referred to it again, and it's like you
No,
could have continued in the main book, but nope.
no, no. And that's the thing. But the point is, it made an impression on me. And I
Hmm.
grew up and I became a comic book writer, and they offered me the job of writing Green Lantern. And I'm like, oh, guess what we're going to tap off now? Because I've been waiting
Exactly.
30 years, right?
Exactly.
That's the point of. So that's what I'm saying. There's no story arc. There's no character. There's
Hmm.
no. There's no sequence of events that some writer or some artist is not going to be like, I always loved Scarlet Spider's half t-shirt costume. That's coming back at some point because somebody loved it, and they're going to be
Exactly.
in the driver's seat at some point.
Even if the character's dead, as the joke
Yep.
goes, what is dead
Yep.
really in the comics?
Yeah. Exactly. So, like, it's always every comic book story is always the middle. Real
Hmm.
stories come to an end. They have a
Yes.
beginning, some stuff happens, and then it's over. Comics never end. Superhero comics never end. So it's always the middle, always.
Always the
And
middle.
right? So you don't have to worry about a lot of the things you have to worry about in a novel series or TV show or something like that. It's just a moment. Everything's just a moment. It'll last or it won't, and none of us know.
Right. I mean, it's like I've told Tavia in the past. With John, all you need is both someone to come up with an idea and DC to feel like they're tapped out with him as a teenager. But
Hmm.
because that's the only way the editorial is going to approve of it, is if they feel like this is going to get us more than him as a teenager. But so
I
you got
feel like
yeah.
I feel like they sometimes don't. And again, you got to give these poor people some kind of credit.
Hmm.
You got to always remember what's been going on at backstage at Warner Communications, Warner
Exactly.
Entertainment for the last 4 years, and very
Hmm.
specifically in the comic book section of all of that. There's
Hmm.
been a lot of upheaval. And there've been a lot of people making choices that can't be followed through because the person who made the choice is now no longer with the organization.
Exactly.
So the new person might not even know about that choice and have their own set of things they want to do. And then that person's out,
Exactly.
right? And right, so it's like everyone's acting like there's this sort of a supreme intelligence brain that's just making these arcane decisions, and everything's a plot, and everything's
No, no. I
and
mean,
it's
I mean,
not like that.
I mean, there's some cases where I feel like the creator had more the idea of wanting to do the change, like what was done to Tim. Let's be honest, it's been no, from what I've heard, it actually has been confirmed. What was done with Tim was, oh, let's just do it, and it tells in the writing. But even then, they thought they had a good story to tell.
Sure, sure, but
Did
I'm
it, was it
saying,
told
like,
well?
if
Not
you're
in my
look,
opinion.
there are many different things you can do with both of these companies. I've always been an advocate of some sort of a tiered system where,
Mm-hmm.
like, there's a, not for grown-ups in the sense of triple X or something like that, but
Mm-hmm.
for people who've been reading this stuff for a long time and want more sophistication, there
Yes.
should be an entire line, the Earth L line, which
Mm-hmm.
is all the same characters but done with a more, there's more sex, there's more realistic violence, the
Yes.
concepts are more complicated, and that's for an audience that can handle that.
Like
And
what
then
Black
there's the
Label
sort of,
started at.
yeah, and then there's the Earth G, which would basically be the Bruce Timm version
Mm-hmm.
of
General
Superhero.
audiences.
Right, the general audiences, which everyone can like or not like, but it would be something anyone could just pick up and go and enjoy themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly less complex, absolutely not as dark and gritty. And then there'd be the Earth K, which
Mm-hmm.
would be the Adventures of the Super Sons,
Yes.
right? And you can have your cake and eat it too if you plan appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know that any of that is of interest to the people that are behind all of this
I
stuff.
don't think so
I
either.
think they're just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks from a executive point of view.
Oh yeah,
And
and it felt like
so
yeah.
from the point of view of people who are down here in the trenches just trying to make stuff, it's difficult to have a direction. Like there's no line wide, like it must be this way and this is the new tone. I feel like they do it. The long term creators like Williamson, Snyder, King, those guys who've been in this,
Mm-hmm.
they're doing their best with the and
Yes.
Taylor. They're doing their best with what's in front of them. Like, and I
Exactly.
feel like more people need to give these guys a little bit of benefit of the doubt instead of
Yes.
assuming they're coming for your fucking neck every time.
Exactly. It's like again. You brought us up with Teen Lantern. The stuff going on with John and Tom Taylor's book. I have been enjoying it. Is it perfect? No. It's. I still say I prefer Action Comics over Son of
Sure,
Kal-El.
and
But
that's fine.
yeah, but it's like it's still much better. I mean, again, I don't agree with Taylor's politics in it, and I do feel he does have to treat John like, oh, it's through with John. My politics are the right politics, but it's not as bad as others.
But you know what? Don't read it.
Yeah, if you don't
Just put
like
the
it, don't
book
read it.
down for a while,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
Like just stop reading a book for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Hold
exactly.
on.
Oh, go ahead.
Why? I thought I turned off all my phones.
It's
Okay.
okay. It happens. It happens.
Anyway,
But
um, the the hold on. Pardon me.
no worries.
So yeah, there that level of sort of conflict and whatever comes down to buy what you like, don't buy what you don't like.
Exactly. And if I mean,
That's
again,
it.
I feel Action Comics deserves more love. It really does, and I still say a lot of it is damage done by. I gotta say, by Bendis causing some people to leave the book, and then and some of them have been sticking. They feel safer pirating it than they do actually buying it, and it feels like, guys, buy
Safer.
it. So I said some people, not everyone. I said some.
What
I'm not saying the
safer?
creators. I'm not saying the creators. I'm saying those who went from buying it, dropped in, decided to pirate it.
Oh, but what are they hiding from?
I don't know. That's what it bothers me. I just think it's more of a case where they just felt like, oh wait, I could just read it here and all that. It's like, come on, guys, back the creators that are doing good stuff. Otherwise, they'll be off the book, and you will get a creator. You might risk getting a creator that's going to be cheaper and ends up doing the stuff you don't like.
Yeah. I feel like, well, I have long feelings about a lot of this stuff, but I just wish
Hmm.
people would fucking calm the fuck down.
Yes,
Like,
so do I.
like relax. It's gonna end. Whatever the thing is, it's gonna end relatively soon. Whatever
Yes,
it is, good or bad, whether you love it or hate it, it's gonna be over soon, and it'll be something
yes,
else soon. So
exactly. I
take a
mean,
minute.
It's like, so how many of these runs end up in the long run after they're done? Like a year later, it ended up being a lot shorter than you thought.
Right, exactly. And you go look back at, was that a full trade paperback? It was only six
Yeah,
issues. I was ready to kill people over this.
exactly. It's like like Bendis's run. Now, granted, now in the case of Bendis, I've actually I collected everything even remotely connected to it. Oh yeah, that's a stupidly huge stack for the short couple of years he was on the books. It is like I could get it. It would almost be up to my table. That's how huge that stack is. And yeah, it's like
He's a very prolific writer. I mean,
to a fault.
as dense as his dialogue is, he certainly churns out those comics on a fairly high volume.
Oh yeah.
So
He might not ever not usually stick the landing of a story, but you can't deny him. He comes up with some good ideas.
yeah, and whatever, like not everybody's flavor all the time.
Yep.
He had a billion years in the bright light of stardom, and
Mm-hmm.
now there's a significant number of people I guess really don't like the dude, but I'm not one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've enjoyed his work.
Yep.
Um, the thing too is, at least for me, whether let's say I didn't enjoy his work,
Mm-hmm.
let's say I hated his work, it's still the canon.
Yep.
So when you come in to write and your work touches on whatever he's doing, you have to address it. You can't use
Yes.
your work to say that sucks. You
And
have
just
to go, okay,
ignore it.
well, right. You have to say this is the state of play right now, and
Yeah. I
how
mean,
how can I use this?
remember Bruce Jones's Incredible Hulk? What did they do? They had Peter David come in and say, "Okay, it happened, but it was all an illusion on an island Bruce was stuck on." Granted,
Oh crap!
was that a piss poor way of doing it? Yes, but it was
Yes,
still
I
in
agree.
universe for explaining it. Still
Yeah,
said it happened, just not the way you saw it, and let's just wash our hands of it.
yeah. I think. Well, that gets into all right. We've established I'm a Bendis fan for the
Hmm.
most part, but the way Iceman came out
Oh
was
yeah,
too fast, too abrupt, too fast,
too
not
fast.
right.
And didn't they
Um,
originally say it's just kid Bobby, and while adult Bobby's still going to be straight as an arrow, and then just later on they said, "Oh nope, they're both gay."
no, it didn't. It was just the thing I didn't like about it was Jean makes him do it. Not
Yes,
She didn't convince him to do it on his own. She didn't give him things to think about and have him go think
just
about it and make a
you're gay.
decision. He's like, dude, I'm in your head. You're gay. Just admit it. I'm like, whoa, ease up. What the hell? That's too fast, not very nice kind of way of doing it.
Exactly.
And it made Gene kind of an awful person.
Oh yes,
So
that's one of the things that CG complained about. Even I have to agree with it to the point where you wonder, did she put it into his head?
yeah. Well, it's not the fact of it. It's the way it was done. It was
Yeah,
just
that's what I
too
meant.
abrupt.
That's what I meant.
You
The way
know.
it was done,
Yeah.
you get that misconception. Did she put it in his head?
Yeah. And things like that where you're just like, look, this is a problem. I'm fixing it today. Like, not everything needs a quick fix.
Yeah.
Let's make this a subplot that culminates like after six
Yes.
issues.
Like
You know?
when Jeff brought back Hal, still there was people like Batman still didn't trust him. I mean, like, you really expect me to believe that you were possessed by a bug alien and that's why you did all the evil thing and that was none of that was you. And even then they still had to be no, it wasn't all Parallax. It was still partially brought the worst out in Hal and
Yeah,
Hal owned
right,
up to it.
right. Like those are the things. And again, this okay. I'm on record, so there's no reason to
Hmm.
pretend I didn't say this.
Right,
I
right.
still think the most interesting thing was the heel turn of Hal Jordan. No one had
Hmm.
ever done that in comics. He would have been the most terrifying villain in the history of comic
Hmm.
books. He knew everybody's secrets. He knew everybody's secret identities. He was almost as powerful as the freaking Spectre.
Hmm.
And he thought he was the good guy,
Yes.
right? So you could never get rid of Parallax, that version.
Mhm.
You could only defeat him in the moment because he could always come back. And I was like, even as a young person, I was like, this is baller.
He's like
Holy
reverse flash in
shit.
that regard. He's like reverse
Right.
flash in
And
that regard.
no one had ever tried something like that. Like
Yes.
in the history of comics, no one had done anything like that. So
Yes.
that's how I felt about that move. But here's the thing. A guy named Jeff Johns comes in and
Hmm.
he's like, I always hated that. That fucking sucked. There's no way my boy Hal Jordan did all that shit and just went crazy like that. Fuck that.
Oh, I
So here's what
understand.
really happened.
Hmm.
Here's what really happened. All that stuff still really happened.
Yes.
Everything happened except, you know why the stupid ring weakness that we all hate, the yellow weakness, you know why that
He took it
exists?
and made a big
He,
story out of it.
right. He turned it into a years long event.
And I love this.
Right?
Now, I'm a bit torn, but I did like how he revealed, oh, Hal's supposed to be an old guy because he had gray Reed Richards hair.
Right.
Nope,
Right.
he was prematurely gray.
Look, you don't have to like it. What I'm saying is the approach to the solve is correct. Right? He's
Mm-hmm.
like, all that stuff happened. He did look that way. He did have the gray hair. And I have to not shit on the fact that all those stories existed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? People wrote those stories. Real people theoretically busted their asses to do their best to write
Yes.
those stories. And I'm not here to
Yes.
say it was all a dream.
Oh,
Right?
yeah,
Now,
exactly.
I don't personally like that fix, but you can't
Yeah.
argue with that if what I'm doing to John,
Mm-hmm.
there's people out there that are like, fuck you, Jeff. How
Oh,
dare
yeah,
you? You
exactly.
know?
Now, I will say, though, with Bendis cherry picks his continuity and ignores that, like having it be Lois somehow remembers, knows that she was once half a person during the Reaper stuff, and you're like, that doesn't make any sense because if the time got
But
completely.
wait. Now wait. I agree with you provisionally,
Mm-hmm.
but and I'm just literally just talking to somebody about this.
Mm-hmm.
Death metal
Mm-hmm. But this
for
was
the
before
first
Death
time in
Metal,
DC Comics history.
right?
People keep forgetting this. Infinite Frontier is the child of death metal, and the
Yes,
fallout of death metal is
everyone remembers
everything.
everything.
Everything that ever happened in DC Comics
True, but
all happened,
when Lois
right?
made that statement, that was before Death Metal.
Okay, but I'm saying even if that was wrong at the time, it's
It's
not
right
now
now,
because
yes.
everything happened.
Okay, I
So
will agree with Tavia. Lois's brother is one of the cases, and it doesn't help that it would happen at the same time. Tom Taylor gave Nightwing a half sister, did it much better. Bendis, it doesn't make sense to Sam Lane's character that it's like he raised
like
Lois
I
and
hear you.
Lana
I hear
like
you. And
son,
I'm not defending individual choices.
right?
Um,
I don't.
but
I'm not bashing the guy. I'm just saying how he did it. Just tells you he just felt like I said. Taylor works it around it. Bendis steamrolls right through it.
yeah, and I think, again, we don't know
What he had in
all I
mind
can
all
say
the
is
way.
I had a really smooth time with my particular editorial group. Even
Right.
though there was a lot of crazy going on in the
Mm-hmm.
larger DC, almost none of the crazy touched me. But
Right.
I'm a little guy. I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you, Williamson,
Mm-hmm.
Bendis, Snyder, King, Taylor, they're writing marquee books.
Yep.
Okay. So all of that crazy definitely affected what they have to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, geez.
And
Look at the
we
end.
don't know.
Yep. Look at the end of Checkmate. I am so positive that Bendis did not have that ending for the Checkmate book in mind, but because it leads too perfectly into Shadow War for Williamson.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
no,
Right.
that is no way what Bendis had in mind. That sounds like
Right.
DC told him delay it, and then could you lead into this event instead?
Yeah.
And
And then wrap it up this way. Exactly.
yeah, that's
And
what it
these are
looked like.
things.
I felt bad for him in that regard. I'm like, oh boy, he didn't want to write that.
I think speculation is fine, but I
Mm,
feel like drawing conclusions when you cannot get enough data,
yes.
like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just so I'm always going to err on the side of let's give that person the benefit of the
Yes.
doubt. A person has to do so much publicly for me to
Hmm.
go, nah, fuck that dude.
Yeah,
Like, right,
exactly.
you know,
I
and
agree.
I feel like there's just not a lot of kindness. There's not a lot of people trying to see it from the side of the person who I assume everyone's doing their best.
Hmm.
And getting back on that CG comics gate nonsense, I
Hmm.
assume even they are doing their best.
Oh, I would agree.
Okay.
I
I
will agree.
assume those guys are doing their best.
Hmm.
So I'm not going to be as pissed. You know what I mean? I'm not going after anybody. I'm not assuming the worst every fucking time.
That's
I
exactly what I feel the problem is. People assume the worth, they assume the intent. Again, that's the biggest thing. They assume intent and let it taint any enjoyment of the work.
Yes, exactly that. And what I'm saying is if I came to your job on a day you were fucking up
Mm-hmm.
you'd have a whole bunch of excuses for why it wasn't you.
Oh, no, it was.
You know, and let's say 50% of those excuses were real. It really was your shitty supervisor. It
Mm-hmm.
really was the fact that the delivery guy didn't get here on time and you're doing your
Yes,
best. Why are you not extending those same things, right,
exactly.
to right to these people whose theory you love their work, you love what they do for a living, and if
Mm,
it's falling short, then it's falling short not because they're trying to hurt you, but because they're doing their best and they stumble, right?
exactly.
You mock the track star who's almost to the finish line and then hits that wrong divot and falls, and then does the audience stand up and cheer? No, they're like, oh shit, they
Yeah, they're
feel
like,
it, you
"Ugh,
know. So
ugh."
why are we not giving these creators the same benefit of the doubt? They don't make a
I
fucking
agree.
dime doing this job.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
They
agree completely.
anyway, anyway,
Right. I guess
that's just my
wrapping up soon, but I do want to ask you
okay.
one other question, and that is, I want your opinion on something. I've been asking some of the creators at my comic convention; they kind of all agree with me on this. The
Go.
way DC oh, now granted this was made for his birthday, but ended up being a good memorial. Made this huge art piece for George Perez, had all these
Hmm.
creators involved, and again, this was meant for one thing, but it became perfect for after his passing. What does Marvel do? Take one of his own artworks from he did for Avengers Finale and just slapped his name on it and said, "There's our tribute." It's like, what does
Yeah,
it
that's
tell?
fucked up.
Yeah, don't you feel that felt like DC had more appreciation for Perez than Marvel did? It's just who's running the show
Well,
over there?
I feel like if you should have done nothing rather than that. You could have
Yeah,
just written, "We love George. He was great."
yeah,
You
it
don't
just
need
felt
to
like you
do that.
slapped it together and be like, okay, there, oh, great, move on.
That makes me sad. That makes me a little
It
sad.
does
I did not
because
know that. I did not know that.
yeah, especially when you compare it to again, what DC did, which was incredible. It's like you got Tom McFarlane to draw a Trigun for it, for God's
I
sake.
know that's freaking insane.
Now again,
Um,
I know it was done for his birthday, but the fact they went that extra mile to do that for the guy's birthday,
but they did it because they knew he was probably not going to be here for his next birthday, right?
exactly. And I know, I mean, he died a month before his birthday. I was coming right up,
Yeah,
and it was supposed to be for June.
yeah,
And I bet you that he
yeah.
saw it already. I bet he saw it already, but
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure. I was thinking. I was hoping the same thing for Neil Adams. That I hope
mhm.
he. I
I
hope
think that
that
was
we.
way too last. I think that was way too short notice.
No, I know, but I'm hoping in the process of making the new John Stewart animated feature that
Hmm.
maybe they slid him an advance copy. Right.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he got to see that.
Yep. Here's what it was. See, they just took saying George Perez, once an Avenger, always an Avenger, and again, that's his own artwork. I mean, even the new the Rom article says a special nod to the late creative legend by the creative legend. It's like that's not a good thing. That's a lazy thing.
I don't. I can't speak to any of that. I feel like that. If it was up to me, I would have rather said nothing than do that.
Yeah.
But
It
you
just
know,
and they
I
knew it
I
was
I,
coming. They knew it was coming.
I guess I just don't.
Oh yeah, myself and comment that same with Stan Lee. DC did a better one. He wasn't even one of their main guys.
I feel like again, these are very large groups of people, and
Hmm.
we don't know who makes or doesn't make the decisions.
That is
We don't
perfectly
know.
true.
We don't know if some guy or lady showed up months ago and went, you know what we should do? We should do this. And someone said, yeah, Sheila, we should do that. Put that on the list of things to do. And then
Hmm.
all this other crap happened, and they looked up and like, oh my God, we didn't do that thing we planned to do.
Hmm.
You know,
For all we know,
um,
you're very right. That very well could have happened.
we don't know that that didn't happen.
Hmm.
And to assume the worst, why?
Oh yeah, and again, I admit I'm doing that right now because it's my emotions. But I also
Yeah,
admit, I mean, can you blame me though when you compare it to
no,
what
no.
DC did?
Fans are. It's right there in the name. Fans are fanatical. They are
Hmm.
deeply emotionally invested in this stuff. And I mean, I didn't know George. I never even met him at a convention,
Yeah,
but I
I
know
met
he
him
was great.
twice.
I know Sheila. She's always met. She. No one ever listens to Sheila. That's the problem. She's always right, but no one listens.
Damn it,
Um,
Sheila.
Damn it, Sheila. But yeah, I mean, they could have got out in front of it. They could have done a million things, and we don't know that a million things weren't planned and they just didn't
That's
happen.
That's very true. But I would have said, like you said nothing and finished up whatever you did have planned, and
And
then
then
do it.
say, right, we didn't get this out in time. We hope he's looking at us from heaven. This is so the fans know how much we held him in
Yeah,
high
but if
esteem.
because this makes it seem like if they did everything planned, they said, "Drop it, just toss this out there."
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I, I
I mean,
that
it's
was
just
just an
like
awful
Bianca
way to
said.
go.
I started reading comics in 2017, so I wouldn't have known that was his art. Exactly. That's the other thing is they just put it in
Yeah,
there, and it just seems like a generic Avengers thing.
yeah. I mean, if you're going to do it, do it. Like, if you're going to
Hmm.
do it. That's the way I feel about it. And no
Yep.
one would have faulted them for not doing it. Like
Exactly.
some people would have said, "Why didn't you do a tribute?" It's like we don't do tributes.
Exactly. And
Whatever.
exactly. And like I said with Neil, I'm sure there's something coming. That seems to have been their usual stuff when it happens suddenly. Give it a few
Yeah,
months and
I hope
eventually
so.
do it.
I hope so. I hope
But
so. Or
so
maybe they
aside,
felt.
yep,
I
sorry,
don't know. I don't know.
I
I
know.
can't. I don't
I don't know
know.
either. I just
I
feel
don't
when
know the
you,
people involved. That's another
right.
thing that happens a lot. There's a lot of this weird perception that we're all sort of sitting around at a bar together. Maybe some of them do that, but I don't know any of
Yeah.
these fucking people.
So you
So,
don't, so you don't take part in BarCon or whatever.
well, one, I don't drink, and two,
Me
uh,
neither.
I don't know any of the people involved. Like I just don't know them, so I
Mhm.
can't make giant value judgments about what kind of people they are because I don't have any data. I don't know them.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly. So yeah. So aside from Blood Syndicate and the possibility of Emerald Knights,
a
I said,
possibility,
oh, that's what I
yes.
said. That's what I said.
It's
Possibility.
a possibility.
What?
Well, it's not just a possibility. Some version of Emerald Knights are showing up. Let me put it to you like that.
All right. But
But
what else do you have planned and coming forward?
what I have planned, I'm pitching some more stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of got my hands full with Blood Syndicate, and I'm in a holding pattern on Green Lantern. Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, like I said, there are 3 arcs mapped out. They gave
Mm-hmm.
me a 12 issue contract, so
Mm-hmm.
it was always in the cards that we were only going to get one of the 3 arcs because they didn't give me a 36 issue
Right.
contract,
Right.
right? So, and I don't know what's on the other side of Dark Crisis. It could be a real reshuffle, which means
Mm-hmm.
nothing I did matters at all. It could literally go back to
Well, at least they
what it
referenced it
was.
in '75.
I don't know. I'm not worried about it. I'm not thinking about it. If they want to pull the trigger, I'm ready to get down to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I have big plans for all of the lanterns. I know somebody asked what happened to Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I said this in another podcast. I'll just say this. I didn't. I ran out of space in issue 12.
And
Guy was supposed to arrive in issue 12. So what was
that was
going
a
to
stuffed
happen?
issue as it is.
I mean, it was just chock full of everything. But the Guy was on the planet where he
Mm-hmm.
crashed in Future State, and he had, being Guy, got everybody together and built this weird jalopy starship that
That is
was
so Guy. That
like
is so Guy.
just enough to get him back to Oa in one piece,
Oh
right?
God, that is
And he
so.
gets there. He gets there after all of the other lanterns have got their rings,
Hey
and
guys,
all of
hey.
them have
Oh.
already sort of reshaped because they all got Hal Silver Age's uniform. They've all put on their uniforms the way they like them. He gets back to Oa's basically fixed, and he knows nothing of what happened. Right? He does not know anything. He just shows up. There's no battery. It's now this beacon thing, and he just walks up
Like,
to the beacon, slams his freaking hand against the beacon, gets his ring back, and
and
says,
he
"You
would
guys are
again.
all."
He would
And he,
so do. It's like,
yeah,
dunk.
and he turns around, he looks at him, I was like, "You're all a bunch of dicks," and
Keeping
just
me out of
walks
this.
away, right? And I didn't get to do that bit, and I think
Oh
they
geez,
did
that
end it
is.
on a joke.
And who says you don't get the characters? You get Guy right there. That is so what he would do. All of
Listen,
it.
I was never going to hurt these poor beautiful characters,
Exactly.
none of them, right? Hal was pivotal in that story. He just
Exactly.
wasn't the focus of it. like
Yes.
like God, guys, can you all step back from the line for 5 seconds?
Thank
Jesus
you.
Christ, you
Oh,
know.
I mean, seriously.
But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, so there's that. Blood Syndicate is going. I'm
Hmm.
hoping Dennis and Reggie seem to like what this arc's going to do. What they call seasons. They seem to like where the
Hmm.
season's going. The end of this season is going to be something fairly big, so
Ooh.
they're going to have to decide how big.
Hmm.
And then if once they do that, I've told them point blank, I did not think I would have enough time in my normal schedule to do more than the six. Now I've told them I'm here as long as you guys want me. So,
I'm hoping you're able to do like a big crossover event or
well, it's
something.
fun, and they're really set nice groundwork for their version of Milestone. It's certainly ready for a crossover. There's some concepts
Hmm.
that take place only in Blood Syndicate that could lend itself to a crossover. There are characters and organizations that got born in the Blood Syndicate, the original version,
Hmm.
which lend themselves to crossover events. Plus, there's the whole thing with Icon's home planet. One of the
Yep.
members of the Blood Syndicate is maybe from that. He's definitely from that society, if not from
Hmm.
Icon's planet.
Hmm.
And all of that is in play. It's just those decisions are Dennis and Reggie deciding what
Right.
they want to do next. So
Yeah.
I have the next arc of Blood Syndicate mapped out. It's ready to go
Hmm.
if they want to do it. And it doesn't matter what happens in the rest of Dakota. If
Right.
if if anyway, so yeah, so
Right.
that's that. And I'm talking to Marvel about some projects.
Hmm.
Um, Nobody seems to want to lock me down, and I'm perfectly happy to
Ooh.
not be locked down.
All right.
Um, and some artists I want to work with. Uh,
Hmm.
I've been hitting them up to see if there's things they want to do on the indie side.
Hmm.
Um, that's all very slow negotiations,
Right.
um, and like that. And I'm
Hmm.
working on some stuff in the animation space right now that I'm not allowed to talk about because of
All right.
NDAs. But
Right. Right.
you all will
Right.
see that in 2023, and I think you're going to be
Okay.
hyped. So,
Okay. Cannot wait. Cannot. What? Can you at least
yeah,
give it a
man.
hint? What studio?
Nope, not allowed. Can't
Oh.
even say that. So
Oh.
sad.
I
So
tried.
sad.
I tried.
No, no, nope, nope.
All right.
But you'll know when you see it. You'll be like, this must be that thing he was talking about.
Yep. Well, Geoffrey, thank you so much for coming on. Thanks for giving
My
so much
pleasure.
insights and just talking the shit and everything.
It's just same old, brother. And
Yep.
thank you for inviting me. Happy to be here.
Hmm.
Maybe we'll come back again after
Oh yeah.
issue. Let's
Yep.
see, issue 4. Maybe you might want to come back.
Oh, oh, oh. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. You might
Maybe,
not.
maybe, maybe,
Maybe.
maybe that. Maybe issue 6.
Well, definitely issue 6. People are going to lose their shit on
Oh,
issue
I
6.
can't wait. I cannot wait. Yeah,
Yeah.
but thanks all of you guys for joining me. Back my PayPal if you want to support me. I'm not monetized, sadly. And
Oh,
well, yep, we'll see you on the next one.
be well, bro.